Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the final Indiana Jones review. I'm just saying that because the retro and stuff like that. I am the Helena Stan, Tress Snell, and I'm joined by...
I'm the Godfather, Kirkland Patzer.
None of our caster, Dylan Muss.
I am the archaeologist, Field of Fields, Taylor Field.
So now he's using two nicknames with this whole
Got those
headline.
headlines.
The double
in there,
bubble over here, hey?
At one point, they're
Double
going to add
trouble.
more, and entire the right side. The
Full
names would just
text.
be, yeah, like a
Yeah,
newspaper.
just like text bubbles going up the side. Yeah.
Every half an hour, new nickname. But yes, I said final because this is the last time. Obviously, next week we're going to do just a little mini cast. We're going to rank the Indiana Jones movies, scenes, and I'm not sure. We can talk about a third one. I thought, do we do like characters that aren't indie? Do we do some else? So we'll tinker with that. We'll maybe talk about that.
Top riddles,
yeah. Well, I thought about too. Like, do we rank like the things they're after? Like, what artifacts do we like the most? So we can
top
artifacts.
artifacts.
Yeah, we can play around it, but there will be a ranking like we do at every retro. And if you're wondering, hey, I'm sure we will refer to it a few times. But if you're wondering, what do these gentlemen think of the other Indiana Jones films? Well, we reviewed each and every single one of them, including a mini dive into the TV show for the 4th episode, which got us flagged on YouTube. But fuck it, it was worth it because it was tons of fun. But yeah, so go check those out. Those were a lot of fun. We do a lot of retrospectives. We do a lot of reviews and stuff like that. Next retrospectives for next little while are going to be a bunch of random ones. Then next year we get into Plan the Apes and Mission Impossible. So it's going to be a good year and stuff like that. But yeah, this is the review. Taylor Field, where can they find us?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us through the Internet Connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter, and GeekVerse is our Facebook.
Everything you need to know is down below. Head over. You want to really support us. Subscribe on any feeds, and then really head over to Patreon. You get episodes ad-free, early, exclusive. You get a nice RSS feed that is your own. You can put into your podcast player. And if you can get us to 50 patrons by July 31st, which now we got a month, you can unlock 5 juicy episodes. And if not, just like some of these artifacts will be locked away in the crypt forever. But yeah, we'd really appreciate that, the support. And yeah, leave us a review. If you want to join the Discord, let us know, because we try to change the links all the time, but they're always changing and whatnot. So always where Taylor talked about, you can just message us and find us, and we're good to go. Dylan Muss, what did you think of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? And obviously, again, if people are new to this, we do a non-spoilers portion, and we'll go into spoilers. So we'll give you a warning if you haven't seen the movie and you're just curious. But Dylan, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I'm surprised or not, but I really, really enjoyed this movie. I'd say maybe I even loved it. I'm getting to that level. I had a really, really good time with it. I feel like it feels very fresh and new. It's got a new coat of paint on it, obviously, but it still felt like it fit that indie formula in a good way to me, and it didn't do that thing that we've seen with so many sequels and legacy sequels where it's just hitting you over the head with nostalgia and like, hey, remember this joke, remember this bit. There is, of course, references and things like that, but I thought it was very minimally done and tasteful and felt kind of consistent with the story that we've got in this kind of weird situation where there's a trilogy and then a long break and then a movie and then a long break and then a movie. And yeah, in terms of just, it's all about that action. That's like the key focus of this thing, big action set pieces and, always a lot of vehicles involved in certain things and, some good riddle solving, some good tomb dive and all that stuff. I feel like it's doing all the indie stuff in a way that I was really happy with. And even in the way they use characters, I felt like they switched things up where, there isn't like a traditional love interest character like all the other ones really have to some extent. But the purpose, or I guess the effect that you get from having those characters in those previous movies, they did with another character in this movie. And I thought, that was very tasteful, but still felt very consistent with the other 4. So yeah, I had a really great time with it. I definitely have a couple criticisms to throw at it, and CGI at some points for sure is a bit rough, but I was honestly like more impressed than I wasn't. And I think even from watching the trailer, there was things in the trailers that we were breaking down like, oh, this doesn't look great. If it's showing up in the trailer, that's not a good sign. And then there certainly was a bit of that, but for the most part, I was very impressed with the visuals of this thing across the board. So yeah, I'm excited to break it down, but I definitely, as like not a huge lover of this series, I was pretty impressed with it, and pretty good job from a new kind of team behind the camera and all that. It's pretty impressive. So yeah, good stuff.
Well, did you know, Dylan, there's not a single there's not a single practical shot in this movie.
Not a single practical shot.
Just bugging you, Clayton. Have a good night. Yeah, I was gonna say that you enjoyed it, but I feel like you're not the must that enjoyed it alone because your dad was having a good old time with this movie. I need to see more movies with your dad. I was having a good,
but not too many. But not too many. Yeah, there's a certain level to it. He is a big reactor. He's a big commentator.
yeah.
I don't like the commentary. I'm fine with the last.
yeah.
But, the commentary part. It's like, come on, just let these people watch the movie. But then I feel like he maybe fell asleep at some point. He was pretty quiet for the last 70% of it. But.
That's what
He
me and
went
Taylor
through
were
all
talking
the
about.
emotions in this movie.
Oh, the prologue got him. Because I said that at the time, and this is the best. I was having.
It had my
a
dad
good time.
too, so he's not alone there.
Dylan's dad was in the wrong era. Like if we're talking about time, he should have been a YouTube trailer reactor guy. He
Oh,
would have
yeah.
been perfect for this.
Hey man, he still can. I've seen like
Yeah. Still
older
can,
gentlemen
yeah.
doing
Never
it.
too
Not
late.
that he's an old man, but
My favorite part of this movie, and it wasn't even the movie, is it's that shot in the trailers where they have Indy and he has the hood on. They take off the hood and you get the classic Richard Must laugh, and he says, "There is Jones." And
I know it's always like very obvious things too. Oh,
I loved it.
That's amazing.
I was mad that he got quiet because I was like, man, I'm having such a good time. I need to see more movies.
I
with
looked
your
over.
dad,
I was
'cause
like, what happened? And I feel like he maybe passed out or something.
I
Like
think
that.
so, yeah. And I think the last point I have to say, because he had a lot of good one-liners throughout, and he was doing good at one point. He's like, "It's a fake," and then it'd be like 20 seconds, and he's like, "It's a fake." I was like, "Your dad, he
Yeah.
knows what's going on."
He's
The best
spoiling
thing
it,
is
yeah.
though, for his, I don't know when his birthday is or whatever gift you want to give him, a post Father Day is, you need to take it to Haunted Mansion because he was like,
Oh yeah.
when that trailer ended, he said, "Great effects." He sounded like he was looking real.
Even during
forward.
the Dead Reckoning trailer when he flies off the cliff, he's like parachute. He just like says parachute. Thanks, Dad.
he's
it
the
sounded like
predictor,
yeah.
Nostradamus.
Sound like it was a 10 out of 10 movie.
love
So
him.
yeah, I gotta track that down more. But Taylor Muss, Taylor Muss.
Taylor Moss. Oh my
Oh my
God.
God.
That's a whole different
Check
universe.
those
Look at
fingers.
these
You got your
dads
ring
in
on
the
there,
comments.
baby.
I love this. This is a big dad movie. I love it. I brought
It's a
my
big
dad
dad
too.
movie.
Yeah, I suppose says my dad popped off when Mads. I'm getting
Mads,
everyone's.
oh my
when
God,
Mads
you're really mixing up all
Slammed by that beam by the train. My dad had a blast watching it, and that's what I was saying to Dylan before. Air. This is definitely. I've never been to a movie where there is definitely this many 50 and over crowd people. Like
Yeah,
there was a couple in
100%.
front of me that was like the couple from Up. Like they're probably to go at any time, but they're enjoying this movie. Like they look.
This could have been their final voyage.
Their
to the
send-off.
theater.
Yeah, and I had in the middle. I had a crisis because I was like, "Man, what am I going to do when I'm 70 and I have a character we were talking about death?" But still, it was great to see. It was a but they were rowdy, So Taylor
Mm-hmm.
Field, I want to start with you because me and Dylan both asked you what you thought about this movie, and you gave an interesting answer. So
You did,
I don't
very
really know.
interesting.
Yeah, it was very cryptic. So what did you feel about the Dial of Destiny?
Well, the first bit of watching this, like there were elements that I definitely enjoyed. There were different sequences that really got me. I was having a good time, but what's up?
Nothing. No, I'm just laughing.
I'm just
Hey, keep going.
excited.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I definitely felt that it was not really Indiana Jonesy. Like it definitely had things, but I don't see this as a spoiler, but it just didn't feel like it was enough archaeology and like going like to doing the classic Indiana Jones that I like to see like in the other ones. Like it just felt like it was really just I don't know. I don't know if I want to say that because it's a spoiler. It didn't feel like it was really like research. It was more or less like cityscape, I guess I could say. And it just felt, it pulled me out of it. I like the Indiana Jones where it's just, you're on the maps and you're going around everywhere and all that kind of stuff. It just feels like it's the archaeology. And this necessarily didn't really have that. Well, it definitely transitions to that and probably in like the third act for sure. It gets into some crazy stuff, but, and I like that. I don't know how widespread people will really respond to that because it's pretty crazy. But again, I like that kind of craziness. So I'm really torn. It doesn't feel like Indiana Jones to me, but it does things that I do like, and I appreciate that it did. So it's really tough where I'm gonna kind of align this. And I was telling you, Travis, that I'm glad we're not ranking them tonight because I have to really think about where I'm going to rank this in amongst the others because this is definitely it's a different Indiana Jones than I was expecting.
Yeah, I'll go next. I'll leave Mr. Indy there last. It's gonna be interesting to see the reaction because it definitely feels like even with our listeners, it feels like it's very mixed already. And I feel like that's going to be now the biggest debate of like, does it feel like an Indiana Jones movie or not? And I feel like it does, but to me, it's like evolved. It's like you can't. One, it's not Steven Spielberg, so you're not going to get that. And to me, he even did 4, which didn't feel like Indy, right? But it's like you're not going to get that classic one. And I don't think you can. I get what you're saying about the archaeology, as that word always trips me up every retro. So take a shot. But like, I feel you can't do that exact same movie with Harrison Ford, who's like what is he 69? We think we looked up something like that.
100.
Like. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Hey, and again, just like Temple of Doom, at one point in this movie he has a shirt off. He's looking damn
Holy
good
fuck,
for his
man!
age.
He's
Yeah,
got
man.
abs. I
Looks
was
better than
very,
me.
very surprised.
Yeah,
I was very surprised.
He's kept himself in good shape. So for me, it's like they keep it's a greatest hits, but not. It's like what Dylan said, not in that very nostalgia heavy. Like, oh, you get this. It just feels like they're going to hit on stuff that you love about Indy. Do some new things that are more evolved for the time, for his age and stuff like that. And I think they hit enough where I don't think anything's missing. So I think Ford's great in this movie multiple times. To me, he does feel like, I know some people already said that, I don't think he does feel like Harrison Ford. If you look at like Force Awakens and this, I feel like they're different performances. I don't, to me, it feels just like the movie, the character of Indy feels evolved and feels a little bit older, a little bit more mileage on him. Where 4 had those jokes about him being old, but it was really making him do a lot of the like, he's swinging, from this to that. He's jumping, and he does a little bit of this in this movie, but this feels like he's more on the back pedal and stuff. So no, I think I'm in line with Dylan where I really, really liked it to maybe loved it. I don't know if I want to say loved yet, but I think it's pretty high. I was kind of surprised because obviously it's had a mixed road of, I feel like it's just a movie that's going to divide people. And again, I'm somebody that loves Temple, so maybe that's why I'm on a different side of the Indiana Jones spectrum. But yeah, I think they did a great job of covering kind of this one last adventure and outing for Indiana Jones. I really, really like the supporting cast. Like even they had a kid in here, and I liked the kid. I have qualms about the movie. There's some things where I just go, they're like, but why? There's some things where they don't really explain. And it's not even the big stuff, just certain character motivations that don't really make sense. It's more all with the third act. But I think Mads Mikkelsen is really great here. I like this type of, he plays a villain, but he's very much like a just wiry, kind of pathetic type of villain. So I like that. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is fucking fantastic in this movie. I know they're not gonna. I would watch a movie just of her. And I always like her and stuff. She's one of those actresses that has something just unique about her that you can't teach it, you can't train it. So I loved their dynamic. And yeah, I thought they had the right amount of fan service. The venture and journey and the end point we'll kind of get to, the stuff I'm going to have to really settle on. But no, I really love this. And I always said this, even when the bad reviews came out and then they got better to me. It's like Mangold's never really made a movie that I've disliked. And again, I like James Mangold movies and the way he does, like Logan, Ferrari, what the hell is that? Ford versus Ferrari. And I'm just very excited. I really, really hope he does get to make his Star Wars movie because I feel like this vibe is exactly what I want. We're alluding to things, but not just bogged down in it. And same with his DC stuff. So yeah, I think Mangold delivered another great one. So yeah, I was very happy. There's some effects stuff, sure, that is a little iffy at times. I think the de-aging, I have issues with it sometimes for a different reason I'll get into. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it, and it's probably my top 5 for the year. And I wasn't actually expecting that. I was expecting just to have like a good time where I will easily rewatch this one. It's not like I go, oh, I got to rewatch that because of the collection. No. So Kirk and Patzer, I started GeekVerse. You always talk about how you're a big Indiana Jones fan. This movie, we kind of forget. This was one of those movies that classically keep getting delayed. Spielberg was directing. He's not. We did the retro. So here we are, new Indiana Jones. You got to watch with your dad in the theaters. What did you think of this one here?
Yeah, I feel like as of right now, I'm a little bit torn on like where I would hard rate it, but I think my rankings, I have it pretty solid. So I'll obviously save that for that episode. But like easy, quick review, I feel like this is good enough. This is good enough for me if this is my last Indiana Jones. Did not blow me out of the water. There's definitely some things that I was kind of surprised that I had. I was surprised on how much they bothered me, I think, in the moments. And then as the movie was going on, it seemed like the things that I had issues with were being resolved. And then they just, I don't know. I don't want to say too much because we'll get into that, when we're safe and in the spoiler section. But specifically with the character of Helena, like I love Phoebe Waller-Bridge's performance, but I just think the writing around her character I just have issues with, and it's not like it's bad. It's just the way that it was done isn't the way that I would prefer it. So maybe it's just I'm on that side of the coin of just not loving the decision around that character, but maybe that'll change on future viewings, because like I said, there was just for specifically with her character, there was some moments in the movie when I just was not loving it, and then it seemed like I was coming around to it, and then I wasn't loving it again. So, I'll obviously go into that. But
yeah, I'm interested to hear.
Getting back on the more positive side, I think Harrison Ford, man, he was 10 out of 10. I was so impressed. Something that I had like many nervous feelings about going into this movie is just like, okay, we just watched Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and like I feel like he's showing some of his age in there, and just knowing how old Harrison Ford is, like leading up to this movie, I was just like, I just don't want to feel like he's a really old guy that was just brought back to do this one last Indiana Jones movie, and I don't think he felt that way at all. Travis, you already mentioned it when he had his shirt off. I was like, holy crap, he is like, he's not.
I wouldn't fight that guy.
Yeah, he's not like a 20-year-old supermodel, but fuck, I wouldn't fight that guy. Like he's weathered, but he is still taking care of his abdominal section at least. He had some nice looking abs in there. But like overall, like he didn't seem like a really really old grandpa that was like barely being able to kick ass on these fight scenes or these action sequences. Like I think even the fight sequences, if he was punching someone or getting punched, like it didn't seem as jarring as I thought maybe it would have. I don't know, just seeing maybe Harrison Ford in some interviews, like, yeah, he's not a super young guy anymore. But yeah, I was very impressed by that. I really like Mads Mikkelsen as well as the villain. It's just great to see Mads in things again.
One of the best,
just seeing like the quality of an actor that he is. I was super impressed with.
Where's Hannibal season 4 already? Let's get on it. Come on,
let's do it.
Exactly. We've been asking for it since the dawn of the podcast.
I've done my waiting 8 years of it.
I think there's a lot of. Maybe I'm being a little bit hyperbolic. I think there's some side characters in here that are just completely like wasted, and like they could have had me acting in some of these scenes. Like they just don't really do much at all, and I don't know. It just
Kirkland Patz.
I am a actor. I'm very top quality.
When
No,
they
but
do 86, you're getting the call.
I hope so. That'd be great.
The new
But I don't know. I think maybe I'm just picking at hairs here, because when I was leaving the theater, my dad loved this movie. I don't know how the other dads in the world love this movie, but my dad loved this movie. He's like, yeah, it totally had the Indiana Jones feel, and I agree with that, but I still think it's like to like what you brought up, Travis and Dylan, of just like how it has the feel maybe just evolved, and I think that evolved is something that I just have to stew upon a little bit, because when I rewatched Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, to me, like, yeah, I can see the Indiana Jones isms, but I just didn't get that spark of magic from it. And I maybe that's just a nostalgia thing. Like maybe if I rewatch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as well as this one, and it just doesn't spark anything crazy for me like those original three have, like it just, yeah, it's tough to compare just for where I was as a wee young lad watching those Indiana Jones movies for the first time, and just falling in love with this world and this character and the side characters that we meet and the adventures. Like I don't know. I'm just torn, but overall, I think I was satisfied enough with it. If this is my last Indiana Jones, I'm glad that it ended the way it did. I still think there was more I would have asked for, but I was pretty happy when I left the theater for sure. And although I might sound overly negative, it's just maybe because this franchise is super near and dear to me that I'm super critical when it comes to it. But yeah. I would recommend this, obviously, if you've been watching any of the Indiana Jones movies. Maybe there's some people out there that were hearing bad things about the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, so they never dived into it. I feel like this overall series it's good enough for me to watch them all. I would definitely recommend them, and yeah.
I was going to ask you, because you had said that with Crystal Skull, you saw it in the theaters, and the last time was a couple weeks ago when we retroed it, right?
Yeah, I've only seen it twice.
Is this a movie? Is it, when you say good enough, is it a one where you don't think you'll be watching anytime soon, or would this be one that you would plug in sans a podcast retro?
I would. I think I would. Just for this, it's tough because like I was gonna say this new version of Harrison Ford or Indy, but like you also kind of get a new version of Indy from Crystal Skull, but this one seems even different from that. So I feel like maybe I like this version a little bit more than what that was, but. yeah, I would definitely give this one a watch. But if you're gonna ask me like if I would watch all 5 movies in order for my marathon, like I still think I would just be happy with my 3 and just call it there, and then maybe throw this one on if I want to, or if I'm really craving some mutt action, I'll throw in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But yeah, that's
An odd
hasn't
craving
really
to
been
have.
Yeah, I don't know.
that hasn't been a craving
Action.
lately.
Not a frequent craving in the world.
Yeah,
No.
so yeah.
All right, there we go. Well, if you haven't seen the movie, get out of here, come back, listen to it later on. If you don't care, we're about to take our first break and get into spoilers, so we'll be right back. And we're back. So I'm going to pull Kirkland Pats. I'm going to say let's start at the
Please.
beginning because I want to get everyone's take on like the opening prologue, the de-age. Because I remember when we saw it in the trailers, everyone's like, "Oh, that's some of the best de-aging we ever have." And I think for me, at times it is, and at times it is very video game cutscene-y. I think it's like all about the lighting. I think the thing that took me out of it the most, the same thing that happens with Vader, is that he just sounded like almost present day Harrison Ford in a young Harrison Ford body. And that's what I wish that they should have tuned up something. And Disney will refuse to do that. I remember in Rogue One, James Earl Jones, like, Vader sounds really old right now. And I get it because they're older. So for me, it was like I'll say like a 60-40 for working, but there's definitely some shots where, especially if he's in the daytime, like at the end when him and the doctor are walking away, it's like, oh man, that's not indie. That's just some computer generation and stuff like that. I get why they did it. I don't know if the scene had to be as long as it needed to be, but so it worked for the most part. When it looked great, it looked great, you know?
Yeah, I think for me, we had seen, I mean, not that we saw too many prolonged scenes in the trailer, but I guess I was just so prepped in my mind for what it was going to look like. And, you know, even when like they're about to pull the thing off, I'm like, okay, I've seen this scene before. I know what I'm about to get here. And obviously seeing on the big screen's a little bit different, but I thought it was pretty good for the most part. You could definitely tell what was going on there. But I didn't think it was like atrocious at any point. I think for me, like there was a couple, the parts that really stood out were more just stuff during the action scene, which wouldn't even be part of the de-aging. But like, for example, one of the jumps he does between 2 trains when it zooms out, oh god, that looked horrible. Yeah. So there were, I think for me it was more some of the action stuff than it was the de-aging, and so I would say I was pretty impressed with it, even though you could still kind of see the edges of it. You could see that it wasn't quite perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think just coming from that trailer, I was just shocked on how amazing that looked. I didn't really think of how long of a sequence that might be, and like how hard it really is to just de-age someone in like an extended action scene. Like he also had dialogue in there too, and I agree with you, Travis. I think the older Harrison Ford voice really like it just shot through, probably because, you know, I just watched all the Indiana Jones in like the last couple months, so it's very fresh, and I know what he sounds like in this era of this flashback, so that one was really jarring. I think there's moments, and again, if I really want to split hairs, it's like, yeah, when he's moving around, he looks kind of CGI-y, but like for the most part, like I'd tip my hat off to them. Like I think they did a really good job at hiding him with shadows, or maybe not like having like really bright things around him that would just really make him stand out. Because there's moments when he's talking with what's Helena's father's name, the Baz or something like that.
Yeah.
Toby Jones.
I'll find
So yeah, whatever his name was, when he was talking to him in the train car, like I was very impressed in that moment. But there's another moment when he was talking to one of the Nazi members with his just, I don't know, like the interrogation moment. And Travis Stell.
His name is Blackwood. Blackwood is his name. No, it's Basil.
I don't believe you.
Only Patreon people will get that when they hear the next bread and butter. But Basil is in the Basil Shaw.
Basil Shaw. Yeah. So I was very impressed. Just I think in different moments of the CGI Ford, but for the most part, like I would tip my hat off them. I think they did a stellar job at just pulling that off. You know, if I really wanted, like I feel like initially when I heard them, I'm like, oh no, they're ruining it. But then at like how long of a sequence that is with DH Harrison Ford, I'm like, this isn't bothering me at all. Like this is still a fun Indiana Jones adventure, maybe with like more crazy action with like the just the whole train exploding. And again, that's where you like your spectrum is leaning more on the CGI side. Like, you know, in the Spielberg days, they're not actually having a plane like carpet bomb a train with the practical effects. Like that would look insane, but I understand why they, you know, it's
there's
not
a reason
budget.
they didn't pull it off. Yeah, too, for safety reasons as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. But like for the most part, I can say I love that opening, and right away, Mr. Musk, he had the fantastic reaction to that scene. My dad was like the same. Like as soon as it like went to like just World War II, and then you see like young Harrison, he like just bummed me. He's like, oh yeah, this like just getting right into it. Yeah, like exactly. So I it was cool to have that moment with my dad for sure, and I think it was a great way to start the movie. They could have started it at the university or something, old Harrison, but I think this was fun.
There's something about seeing this movie with older people. It's like, man, I don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to watch movies like that ever again. I look at them like I'm just so jealous sometimes because I'm always thinking like, oh, this and that, and stuff.
Just shocked about things.
Yeah, they're just in it for the ride. Like I would love to for a year be like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch any trailers for something, but it's just because I guarantee you they didn't see. Like I guarantee you they might have not even known that. Like, did you? Dylan, did you think your dad's was expecting to see like a de-age Harrison Ford? Like I don't think they see these things like us, and if they do, they see them and they forget it right away, right?
Yeah, probably not. I don't think my parents were too like didn't even know this. Like they probably saw a trailer at some point, but it wasn't until I asked them if they wanted to go to it that they were like, oh yeah, I guess that's a thing that we can go do. So it's probably a bit of a. My dad thought that Harrison Ford was barely going to be in it. He said. When we got back home, he's like, I thought he'd be there for like a couple cameos kind of thing, but he's getting old, so I didn't think he'd be in there much.
Those Star Wars movies ruined him. He thinks all these original characters are gonna get killed off.
Well, he's probably thinking
away.
of like Blade Runner and how
Right,
Harrison Ford was used there and stuff. But
yeah.
What
about you, Taylor?
What is the initial question? The CGI? That's what we're talking about.
Opening sequence.
Me,
The
Dylan,
opening,
and Kirkland, just for a full. I think it's.
I wasn't sure. We
10
started to
minutes,
detour off
talked
to the
about
side.
the
We're talking about Basil. I was like, I can't remember where this.
That was in the
originated.
scene.
He's got baby
Kirkland's
brain,
everything.
Travis. Give him a mulligan. You get one mulligan
So-
tonight.
As far as
He's
the
gonna need
CGI
several.
goes, I'm with you, Dylan. When he's jumping over the train carts, that definitely pulled me out there. His body was completely just fake.
They should have used it
gelatinous,
doubled.
really.
Yeah.
I think everything else though, in terms of the train going around and the planes coming in, like again, coat that off with being a nighttime setting. I think that's great. That's how you do it, Jurassic Park style. Hide the CGI with the elements of nature. It's a great way to kind of sneak your scene and setting in there. So that was fantastic. Him being de-aged himself though, I was under my own.
You say that like he's the one doing the de-aging.
He
Yeah.
the tech.
himself. Yeah, he was.
I
in
think
the
he
studio.
should have let someone else do it. Yeah.
I need over 2 minutes. One more
Tech.
month.
I created my own preconceived notion that the trailer looked that way. That's fine, but the film would be better. And I based that off of the fact when you look at again Jurassic World here, the trailer CGI looked one way, but the movie it was much better. And I kind of been hoping that that's actually a thing that is.
We watched very different movies, I think.
Well, I was hoping that this would be a thing that the trailer is just maybe some early renderings, but it still looks good. They put it out there, and sure enough, though, that wasn't the case. Some of the moments that I was really looking at was when he's on the horse and it's in the parade and he's looking over, or again, like even when they pull the sack off his head, he looks pretty dang good there. But then there's moments where he puts the hat on in the train, he turns around and looks at like Basil. And I thought, okay, that still looks pretty questionable. It's definitely.
That's what I was just pitching that I loved. I was like, yeah, that scene was awesome.
I didn't. For me, it didn't
This
work.
movie's
for me.
gonna divide
it looked,
people.
It looked still questionable. Like it definitely was not like Book of Boba Fett, Luke Skywalker level. I'd say it was under that. So
Yeah, that's the top one, but that one's tough because I think this is Ford on set the whole time. Where that one, remember, they also got a young actor and stuff. But the horse one, I think, did look better. I think they had that classic shot still when he rides up and he looks back. That still looked CGI-ish, and lots of times Ford's looking rubbery. But I feel like they got it as good as possible. And there's a couple times he was on the horse where it looked like they had made the effects a lot better than the trailers and stuff. But yeah, definitely too many. They should have shot him a lot from the back on the horse. I know they want to see his face, but the horse they could have shot around. But
Speaking on the train scene, like outside of the de-aging and general CGI stuff, I thought it was a really great set piece. I like the setting. We've obviously had a train before, but even just switching it to like a nighttime train, and like the section when like the people on the turret get like gunned down and the turret starts spinning around and is like progressively shooting different parts of the train as it's moving up. And just moving through it, the classic, like you got to get down because the tunnel's coming, all this stuff, people going around the side. I really enjoyed that set piece, and I thought it had a nice little ending too. The heroic theme comes up when they're kind of succeeding, all the troops coming in, like paratrooping down and all that. So I quite liked that, and I mean it was a very long sequence, but I think it was like really setting the pace of like, here's like a full power Indiana Jones set piece, and to me that felt totally authentic to what those original movies. Obviously, the CGI versus practical might be a little bit different, but like that's an Indiana Jones as set piece there, and that's where
Yeah.
there's so much of that's where I'm like trying to understand where you guys and other people are coming from, where they doesn't feel like Indiana Jones. Like to me, that's like right there with what this
I
series
agree
is all
with you.
about.
The prologue for sure for me felt Indiana Jones. That I was right there back in 1940.
Yeah, but like the car chase scene, I would say the same thing. Like plane stuff, like all of it seems like that's right out of the Indiana Jones rule book, right
the
there.
plane
Yeah.
stuff at the end. That's where I said like earlier, like that third act stuff. That's where it was getting into it. But like the car chase and going around, like it felt like okay. Like chasing through the parade, chasing now through like Morocco, and it's around these carts and stuff. It just felt like more of like the same.
That's what I'm surprised. Like they do that. Like, and even like when you're talking about the like not enough puzzle, so like, and I guess maybe for you because I know you ranked it like lower, but Last Crusade does that, right? Where like the whole movie is more of a chase and action thing, and then the last act is Indy getting to go in there and get to the Grail and everything. That was the same thing here. Now I don't think the ending of this was like a thrilling puzzle solving thing. It was just Harrison Ford moving some fucking rocks. I was like, okay, you guys could have worked a little better on this one, but it followed that same thing like Last Crusade, where they
like
only left it to the end bit for him to like do some puzzle solving.
the only puzzle he solved was like, hey, counterweight, let's stand in this pool and make the water flow into the drain. I feel like that's
But
it.
he did. But then the whole movie, when they had to read it, he had to burn that thing, right? And it like revealed the gold and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
it
and,
is
like, what about like
sprinkled throughout.
the whole boat
Yeah.
sequence? Like I feel like that's filled with puzzles and riddles of even like finding out what happened there, where the ship split into two parts, and then they're having to go find
Yeah.
this whole thing, and then doing that whole riddle sequence. Yeah, it's not Indiana Jones being the one breaking. He's assisting, but obviously like passing the torch in a way and having Helena be the one to do some of that riddle stuff. Like I loved all that stuff, and it felt like totally authentic to what this series is about.
Yeah, I have other issues with that scene that I think like just blinded
one?
me from the whole boat sequence. With
Yeah, I have issues
Javier
with it too, yeah.
Javier. Oh fuck, what's his name?
Javier Bardem.
No, Banderas. Banderas. There you go.
I'm like, Javier is in this? God damn, I missed it.
I mean, yeah, we can get to that scene when we get there. But I great points, Dylan. Like, definitely those are indie-isms, if I can use that terminology. But I think just I didn't love the way that like the stuff that was going on. It was just taking me out of the actual mystery aspect of trying to solve these clues, because I did like the whole clue gathering aspect of what this movie had. I thought that definitely was up the indie. The indie alley, indie aisle.
indie
That's what I was
alley.
trying to say. There you go.
Yeah. Very Mulligan heavy. It's like they find one thing and then that leads to like the other thing they gotta get, and then they gotta get this thing. Like it's in some movies it's like one thing they have to find, and this it's like four separate things they gotta find to like get to the dial. You know.
I know. I kept forgetting that. Like, oh yeah, they're going to the shipwreck to find like the path to the actual thing instead of that being like the final destination.
Can one of you guys answer this for me? Because maybe I missed it. How did Mads' character know to go to the shipwreck? Because I feel like that information. Did they get the notes?
He had.
Is that
He was
it?
like
had
this.
he had the book. She took.
was like this, Taylor.
copies.
took the book. Okay.
He's going west, not
Yeah.
east.
Okay, that
I know
was
exactly where he's
Helena-
going.
That was
Helena,
wild.
remember, because Helena said that she took all the
Yeah.
important notes from her dad's books, but then they got the rest of the book. So
They got
yeah,
the
they
books,
probably
okay.
deciphered them maybe a bit too quick for like the realism's sake, because it probably took her years to figure out some of those things or translate them. But who knows what those notes really look like? But yeah, they had the original notes. She had copies.
Okay.
I had lots of issues with the villains and their moving around. That to me is probably the biggest issue with this. Is performances wise, like we talk about, Mad's great. I feel like Boyd is kind of a little underused. We know what he can do, but I just wonder if it's just like.
He was like Tombstone from Spider-Verse. That's exactly what I thought
So
he
here's
was.
how this is my pitch, Kirkland. I have no idea. This is my headcanon that he
Okay.
wrote this character, right? And Mangold and Boyd are good friends, and he's like, "Well, there's not really a role for you." And Boyd's just like, "But I just want to be in a fucking Indiana Jones movie." He's like, "Well, you can
That guy
take
needs
this
a
role."
better
Be a
agent.
lackey. Yeah.
Yeah, but you would take it if you were.
I
if
know. You're right. You're right. You're right.
And I'm completely headcanon, but just because the type of roles he's done before, this felt like a Boyd just wanted to be in Indiana Jones, and they gave because they didn't do much with this character. They made him seem like he was a dummy, he was muscle, right? Because every time someone's saying something smart, he'd be like
He felt like the same character from The Predator. At least to me, he did.
Well,
And
that's
what
a
about-
bad example
What
because
about his character in Logan too? Isn't he like pretty much the exact same?
But that one, he's very charismatic. He gets to he's like very like flirty with Logan and stuff like that. Everyone, not that everyone will, but go watch Sandman. He's fantastic in that. But I feel like he doesn't get much charisma here. Even he doesn't get like good one-liners. He's just, it could be anybody.
He's unlikable. He's just an unlikable goon that
Yeah.
like I'm just waiting for him to die. Like I feel like that's what I had for him the entire movie. And like I've seen him in other things and I've liked him. I liked his acting. So right away, like he got like the funky haircut, the mustache. I'm like, oh, okay, what's this character gonna be? He's learning German. This is gonna be kind of fun. And then like right away, it's like, oh, he's just a goon. Like he just does whatever Mads says. And a little bit disappointed by that, but I mean, hey, he's in an Indiana Jones movie. That's pretty cool.
Even then, too, there's so many times he was on screen when we first met him, and he was in the room with Mads, but he wasn't interacting. And then they start standing beside each other. I'm like, oh man, we're gonna get some Mads and Boyd Holbrook scenes here. This is really good. And you do, but it's just like, do this. Like.
The best thing, the best dialogue they have in this entire movie is Mads says, "Shut the fuck up." No, not exactly that, but when they're on the plane, it's just chaotic, and he's trying to think. He just keeps saying, "What do we do? What do we do? Are we flying here? Shut up! I'm trying to think."
Mads was impeccable, and that entire third
whole
act. Mads
sequence,
was fantastic, man. Oh.
I'll tiptoe on it because I'm sure we'll get more into it later.
Tiptoe.
The third act, but just the scene with Boyd when the plane is flying over, and again, like we'll talk more about it. No one knows what the fuck's going on, but what does Boyd do? He grabs an LMG, whips the door, but just die, you fucking bat! Like, he's shouting out like, "Die, you like you savages!" I think he says savages. Like,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
he
heard
didn't say
that.
fucking
guys.
bastards.
I heard
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
that
It was in
one
my
of
notes,
favorite
Taylor.
parts.
Don't you worry. I wasn't
He's
gonna
just-
forget that scene.
He's there for battle. I don't know what he's there for. He was
He's
an
ready for
eclectic
blood.
character.
He died a soldier, man. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Hitler's not here. I'm taking these guys with me.
He's trying to save Hannibal. That's what he's there.
Yeah. Maybe there's some stuff cut and everything like that. But yeah, I think that's always the tough thing, right? When you got a classic goon guy, but then you cast a really good actor, and it's like it's the same thing, right? Look at our parents. No one watched that movie and was probably like, oh, Boyd Holbrook. It was just like, oh, that's the goon this type around, right? So I think for us, it's us like bringing in our preconceived notions of, oh, look at Boyd Holbrook. And I get it because I think we did the same. We talked about the Secret Invasion, right? But
You got me, S-Bubs. You fucking killed me with that one.
dropping the 20 bomb in 200.
Unfair advantage for like aerial advantage too.
He still got fucked up though. Yeah, I think I feel weird about these villains because to me, like all of it kind of worked, and like all of your points are correct. That I don't think they were particularly well done. I mean, you guys seem to like Mads. I don't even really think that he did anything outstanding. Like when it comes to Golden Geeks time, I'm not going to be bringing up any one of these. But for what this movie is, I thought everyone worked and like fulfilled their goal, and I thought they did a good job. And to me, once again, it felt very Indiana Jones. I can't really point out too many like huge villains from the other movies that are, a really over the top big character, big personality that become like a co-star in the way we think of like an MCU villain or something who really is like a big star of the movie. That's never really the case except for fucking the fourth one and like Kate Blanchett's character. But then they overreach and they overstep. And so I like that they kind of reeled it back in.
Kalima.
And yeah, like Mads doesn't have some weird other quirky side where he's doing something or he's too crazy or anything. Like he always keeps it pretty under wraps, and then at the end when he realizes he's maybe fucked up, then or just like everything's wrong, different than what he was expecting, he's starting to unravel a little bit. But then it doesn't even get to the point where he's like doing some weird overacting or anything like that. So it really, honestly, all worked for me. Even though, all your points are very accurate, and like Boyd, I would have been down for him to do more, but I was perfectly fine with it. And like to me, once again, very Indiana Jonesy the way all these villains were.
Yeah.
It's funny. It is similar to Logan, where like that's a dynamic, right? In Logan, there's like the older scientist that he's working with, and it's kind of that way. I just think in Logan, he gets to be just a bit more of a character and like more
absolutely.
outlandish. Where here he doesn't. But I think for me, that scene with Mads is when that was overacting. It's just that I felt like playing, you got to be fearful for your life, the situation, everything. I thought he did that so well. It was such a great little performance. Like I looked at this character and genuinely believed that he was just all the hopes and dreams that lost his body. Just the look on Mads' face when he really realizes, like, oh my God, we are, when Ford's like, you got the wrong war. And he's like, just those shots and he's going around. And I love when he was he thought he was successful too. He's like, look, Dr. Jones, I
Yeah.
did it. I have problems with Indy being on the plane. We'll get to the third act because I have tons of problems with the third act of like the choices the villains made because it makes no sense. But yeah, it was great to see Mads and something again.
Well, I think that's kind of like a callback to the first one too, right? Where like these villains, it's just a classic indie villain trope where like, hey, we got you captured, we're gonna make you watch our success, right?
Every time. Every time.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I guess just with the first one, like I guess we can just get into it now. Like the first one, they're there on site and they time up. This whole thing, they shoot him and then they drag him like 200
Really
yards to get.
Maybe
to,
they needed him
like,
though for something else. Like maybe he
but
could answer
I wish
the
they said
question.
that. Same thing
That's
with that happened. I didn't buy that. I didn't like that they brought the kid because it felt like they didn't really need the kid. And then it's strange. Like they get to the cave. Like is that what they needed the kid for? Was to get to the cave? Because they never used the kid in the cave for anything. And then when
I
he
did
goes,
not
to,
understand why the
bargaining
kid was
power.
there.
Bargaining
Yeah,
power to like, I don't know, get whatever Helena and Indy have. Like it's just something good to have.
But I also don't
Hostage.
feel like they were ever intimidated and felt like they would need something like that. Like I felt like they had the
Yeah.
firepower and
Yeah.
the bodies that it's not like they would even need.
I
something
thought they were gonna
anymore.
bait them out or something. I thought it was be like, yeah, come meet me at this square and you'll get the child alive. You know, like one of those classic things. But it didn't go that route at all.
No.
They wanted someone to hold hands with in
mean,
the cave.
I guess if we think back to the boat, like he was pretty quick to just shoot Indy's friend. Like he obviously didn't care about killing anyone, and he would do what he wanted to get his way. So maybe that was their intention after all. So.
But it is. But like the weird thing is, I would have rather them just went with the simple, hey, we need this bargaining chip. The movie set us up by Indy being like, oh well, the kid's seen everything, so they know they can use him to get to this, and this. But when they're in the cave, the kid falls in the water. Matt's like, I'll just leave him. We don't need him. So I was like, what was the point of all this? So there's another one too. I'm forgetting it now, but there's that. There was dragging Indy to the plane, which I didn't buy at all. It's just that kind of, it has to happen because he has to be here for third act. I wish, like Taylor said, just mention some reason of, hey, we need you for this. Like, and if not, we're going to kill you or so and so. And that's it. That's good to go. And most other movies do that, right? Like they work with him and they didn't here. They just brought, because it was just Mads Mikkelsen's character who makes the first line I really liked when he goes down the elevator and he's like, I'll see you in the past. I really like that line. But then every time him and Indy break off, he's always like, tomorrow's ours. Like every ending is like, okay, we get it. You're going back in time. So like that kind of got a little tiresome. But I just didn't buy that he wanted to show Indy that bad. Especially because there's been that first movie, we get established that those two, the villain and then Indy, they're always back and forth, right? Like probably for years they've been trying to one up each other. They've seen this, like what? There's like 30 years in between, or how long between like Indy and this guy seeing each other, Mads Mikkelsen? 30, 20 years? And they saw each
So
other
it'd
once?
Probably about
I
30
mean,
years.
1969, and yeah, it's been, I guess 1945 would have been when they saw, right? End of the war.
So yeah, 20 plus years. So I just didn't feel like they had that. If they were rivals, then I could have bought like, hey, I pulled this off and I'm going to show you that I pull off. This is just some guy you fought with on a train once, you know, and they felt like they were trying to give us a lot of history. So I had a lot of issues with the enemies just doing stuff because, and that was the only time that took me out of this movie actually. So yeah.
Yeah, I think like across the board, well, I can't say that because I really like Mads Mikkelsen's performance, but like for the most part, I just didn't like the villains in this movie. I think they were alluding to almost like, I don't even want to say it, but like it gave me a little hint, like inkling of that like Hydra or like what's it, Operation Paperclip, where you have like the Nazi scientists like coming over to America and then they're just like, yeah, they're making great discoveries and stuff, but like at the end of the day, they're still the enemy, and then like they, like obviously he has his own agenda. He's not meeting with the president to get his medal. He's going to Morocco to just get further along on his own quest. And I think that's completely fine if you have more than just Mads Mikkelsen and then like just some really stupid goons and then like a CIA agent that they just completely betray, and then that's the extent of CIA in this entire movie. Like I don't know who is supporting Mads Mikkelsen on his adventure, but he has a get out of jail free card everywhere. Like I guess the CIA got him out of Morocco, but in that same instance, like he just murders an agent, and there's no mention at all of the CIA even care about that she died or looking into this. Like it just seemed like such a void of the overall plot of just not having like any tie back to that whole CIA like trying to find this dial for for something. We never ever learn about that, and I just think that was a big letdown. And it was like I was watching like Saturday morning cartoons with like you have Mads Mikkelsen and like his goons that just show up all over the place to wherever our heroes are at, and they're just there. And Mads Mikkelsen has his hat, and he's just like, yeah, that's the villain. And I don't know, like I think just every time they were on screen, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't like it was just super flat, and I just didn't really feel any major peril. I think from where they were coming from. Maybe just because their goal wasn't that interesting, or I can't say that because when I found out what they were doing, I was like, I didn't see this coming at all. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, for the most part, I was let down with the villains, and I was hoping to get more answers with the overall tie-in with that CIA agent, and that was just dead end. But
I would have liked to have seen more with the villain. I don't remember like the villain's name, the German guy who like was hanging Indiana Jones up and stuff. He was like leading the charge. He kept like the colonel kept shutting the Dr. Mads up.
You
and
want to see
stuff
more
like
of
that.
him?
He felt like he was getting such a setup because like the smoke and stuff, and he comes up to the top
He's
of
the
the
first
train.
boss.
he was the first boss. Yeah.
But like I totally forgot because
boss.
he's been in a few other things too. He's in like Age of Ultron as that scientist guy and stuff like that. So he's popped up.
Oh, Baron
He's
von
in the-
Strucker.
Yeah, he's in the Disney family.
They love killing him first act though.
yeah.
Great first
clearly.
boss.
Yeah. It's funny, the CIA thing didn't bother me. I was the reverse, where I wasn't liking the CIA thing, and when they killed her, I was like, good, because I don't need this other thread going on. To me, I bought that he had screwed up a bunch, and she was pretty much giving him the whole, you're done, like, we're ending this right now, and then they killed her. I bought that, and they wouldn't know where she, like, this happens in a 2-day span, right? So the fact that they kill her, they ditch this plane. I don't think, especially back in this time, they'd be able to find him so quickly if your CIA agents are dead, right? It's not like today where it's like cameras, phone, everything. It's like, we don't know. We had 2 agents with them. They killed them all, and now they're gone. So that's where I was fine with it. I didn't need a whole, because I thought they were trying to do CIA agent and Boyd. They're like trying to like measure up against each other. I was like, I'm not into any of this. So I was happy with that thread kind of going away. I don't know why the CIA needed the Dial Destiny. That felt like a very big, like, okay, what's like America wanting with the dial?
I'm scared. I'm scared to know that answer, Travis.
America's loaded though. I mean, they got the Ark of the Covenant. They got all this shit.
You got all of it.
Because what year were we?
1969, Moon Day, right? That's when they went to the moon. 1969.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
Or was it
they're
earlier?
probably,
Or was it
they're probably
earlier?
going.
I don't even know my history.
I was just looking up because I was trying to see when JFK got shot, and that was 63. So maybe that's what America needed. They're trying to go back and save
Yeah,
JFK.
69. That's right.
Also,
Sorry.
very quick, can you guys, where in the timeline like is the flashback sequence in terms of the other movies? Because he meets Hitler at one point, so obviously it's kind of like pretty close to that, I guess, right?
This would have been like before. It would be after Last Crusade and before
Sometime, yeah.
Crystal Skull. I would say Last Crusade with Hitler, because Hitler. This is where Hitler's going into hiding, right? And so Hitler's clearly out in public in Last Crusade.
He just bumps into him again. Can you
Yeah,
sign my book again?
on the train. yeah. And as Dill mentioned too, I liked even the comedy stuff. Well, I don't know if you mentioned the comedy. I liked the train sequence, and I liked that, how the reveal was. It's all going well until they see the bullet hole, and he does the whole
that was
lunch
great.
thing. Like, I thought it was like it's all on a train, but it's also like the carts are like separated into like mini set pieces too of like what he has to go through in the action.
Snowpiercer.
Yeah, luckily didn't have that same ending and stuff like that. And I know we've seen the trailers, but I, for some reason, just really like when he puts the hat over Mads and punches him. I don't know why. It's just satisfying to watch. I
you
really like
laughed.
the.
That was a loud laugh.
Yeah,
in the
I just
theater.
like it. Yeah, but and then they're
I'm gonna-
using
if ever
very
I'm in
classic.
that situation, I'm gonna try that with the hat. Hopefully it works.
Because as an enemy, you'd be like, "What are you doing to me? Why?" And then you get clocked.
Yeah.
You have no idea. Oh man, I was not seeing when Mads got taken out on the top of the train. I knew he was in the movie more, but I was like, "How is he?" Because like this is
That was
like
a brutal hit.
he got
That was a brutal hit.
It was like
I was
when we saw the-
expecting like a deformed face or something too. When
he
we
just
saw
had
him,
one little nick there. That was it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not a lot.
so worked out for him.
Lucky hit.
Before I forget about tying back to the CIA thing, Travis, you said that you were pretty happy actually, like when she was killed off there, and I think the biggest question, more so than like why the CIA was even involved in that, was just like I wanted to get more of this, like infighting against her antagonists for Jones. I think that could have been just an interesting dynamic if like the CIA, like, I don't know, I didn't really get much moments with that lady, but I was just expecting more from it, and then she just died. And I was like, wow, okay, I'm never gonna see more of her maybe realizing that she's supporting the wrong team, and then has like a switch, and then tries to help out the team. I'm not saying she makes it in the end, but I don't know, just squeeze out a little bit more
Main
juice
character.
there. And just I mean, it wasn't right away, but when it happened, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm not getting any answers about that. And it seems like we got, I don't know, we just got what we needed out of them for Mads' sake, at least.
I argue you could probably just cut the CIA out in total, though. Like, what did it really achieve that we didn't?
You're right.
Like, because the bad guys are after they find. Like, I guess what happens? They find. They use that to get a file so they know it's Jones, but it doesn't matter because later on Mads Mikkelsen meets him. He's like, they do like, I remember you. It's like, oh, I don't remember you. It's like, yeah, a guy had your face on the train and he was a Nazi. Like, they established that they know each other but don't know each other. So they never needed a file. So I don't know. I don't know what the CIA really served here. In the, like, you could cut that 10, whatever, and all of it, so.
100%.
I agree. I really want to hear some more about Helena, specifically from Kirkland. Like, what's the beef with? What's going on here?
I was very excited about this dynamic of like the goddaughter with Ford, and they threw me for a loop here because they made her into a bit of a trickster, bit of a she has her own goals for sure, and really, in my opinion, completely screws over Indy in the big portion of it, which you can make the argument, that's what he deserves. He left her, and I would completely disagree with that because she basically set him up to just get these innocent school teachers, they were murdered in cold blood, and she didn't give a fuck about that. She was just going to pin all those murders on Jones because he just was kind of an absent godfather. Like, I think that's so ridiculous.
I think there's more to it than that.
This is fake news headlines right here.
Okay, counter me.
She did not. Okay, did she go into that school knowing teachers were going to get assassinated?
But that's what happened, though. It doesn't matter if she knew or not.
But
she
that's what I mean.
She wasn't remorseful at all about it.
You're making it sound like she was actively trying. Like, she went in there to get these people killed and then frame it on Jones.
Framed.
Yeah, like when
when
she leaves the building, they don't know those people are dead. After she leaves is when Ford goes down and sees the dead people. He's like, oh fuck! So she didn't know people got killed.
Yeah, but she knows that when he goes to Morocco and confronts her, she just plays it off. It's like, aren't you wanted for murder? Like, she just doesn't give a fuck. She got what she needed out of him and was just done. And I hated that so much. I was so pissed off. I'm like, this is a character I don't want to like. I don't want to like. It's just a joke. He's wanted for murder for people that he like.
Him.
But she
I
does
just
turn on
like
him.
Banderas too. Like Banderas, are you kidding me? She just got what she needed. Did not give a fuck about Indy's old friend with Banderas. That he's the only reason why they actually have that tablet, and she just uses people for what she needs, and then is just that's fine with me. She's just completely fine.
That is pretty rough upbringing.
No, yeah, for sure. I think that's a fair point to bring up. I'm not gonna try and fully defend Indy here, but I can't really fully support her actions throughout this entire movie. I know she's kind of a complicated character because she had a rough upbringing, losing her father and everything, and then not having her godfather when she needed him. But I just think she was so much further down the extreme side that I personally was wanting. I think the dynamic of her having her own motive is fun for sure, and definitely threw me for, because I thought she was just going to be the new sidekick for the mutt of this movie, and it was kind of cool to see no, she's got she just wants money and doesn't really care about this archaeology thing. And I don't know. I think it could have been done in a less extreme way, but maybe I'm the minority here, so maybe I'm just on the wrong side. But
see, I got to counter two things, because the point of
all
for the money, at the end they establish it's not all for the money, because Ford says that he's
because of the adventure with Ford. I feel
No,
Ford was just framed for murder. She would have
No.
she would have sold the tablet or the dial. She would have just paid off all of her debts.
Even on the
living
boat,
with
she had
Teddy.
to- she had to pay the
She's
debt.
Like, oh,
She was
we're gonna
gonna get
sell
killed.
this and get out of here scot free. She's telling the kid on the boat. So
Yeah.
And yeah, that is her arc there, but I think that was the point of it, that this movie shows that there is more to life than just money and that stuff. And at the end, when she tells a story about she got purse nabbed and, that's how they met. And then she talks about like remembering all the books, and Indy's like, yeah, it doesn't really sound like you're in this just for the money. So I feel like it's either two ways I take it as. One, this is the journey of her getting, past that, or she is just using the money as an excuse, like, oh, well, I'm just here to sell it. I'm just here to do this. And sure, she'll get the money, but really she has like a passion for it. And for me, what I liked about the boat scene of when she's celebrating, I think she's just happy that she got out alive. They got this stuff. And I thought it was a great commentary on like Hollywood movies nowadays, because they're like, I love the MCU, and there's other movies that do this when, there's serious stuff going on, and then someone makes a joke. And I love that Indy, it wasn't played for jokes after. He's like, hey, that was my friend that just died back there. And the scene shifts. There's no more jokes. It just turns. So that's what I like. It was almost him like imparting wisdom onto her of like, you're not getting it yet. Like this, that's a real person back there. So I think that's why I enjoyed it. It's funny about the comparisons of, we always talk about Harrison or like Indy and Han Solo, because Helena is just Han Solo. That's who she's playing. So that's kind of what I liked about it, was seeing Indiana Jones with a Han Solo character, because he's the same way. He's a swindler. He pretends he doesn't care. And that's the type that I thought she was playing. And it's funny that you guys, like you and Taylor, seem like you kind of went that route with it. Because even the wanted line, I just took it as like a fun joke. I didn't take that as she's actually like rubbing that in his face, like you're wanted and gonna get arrested. I thought it was just something like an old joke she does, So.
But like, yeah, like even if that is a joke, it's just like innocent people actually died, and she's just like does not give a fuck. That was the way I took it, and it was just like I don't like this character. She's so just unremorseful in all the wrong ways. At least that's the way I read into it.
Oh, Dylan, where are you here?
Yeah, I honestly agree with everything you said, Travis, and I think that's why I found her so fun. And to me, it's what I was saying earlier of there wasn't a love interest character. Yes, in the very end, we get like a little moment. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. But to me, like in terms of like what that role has meant for these indie movies in the past, to me, it was very reminiscent of I always forget the subtitle of the third Indiana Jones movie. The
Last Crusade.
It was reminiscent of The Last Crusade and Elsa, which I know is a character that not everyone loved here on our retrospective of it, but it had that same energy of being someone who is on your side, a member of the team, and then switches back and is clearly like a kind of a double agent in a way, and then that kind of flip-flops back a couple times, and I like that we kind of had that with her, and I didn't ever fully trust her until more near the end when we had gone more of that journey. And like that line for me, Travis, also really stood out when he made that comment about how it seems like you're in it for more than the money, and you clearly have some sort of love or passion for this stuff beyond just trying to get some money out of it. And even like just her acting, like the way her facial reaction to hearing that line to me was like a really great note to reinforce that, yeah, she really was putting on this like really this badass personality, like she doesn't care about stuff, but he really helped her bring that out and was kind of in a way becoming that father figure that she didn't have and all that. So yeah, that character was like a complete success for me, and I totally agree with you, Travis. I would totally take a movie of her going on her next adventures, the spin-off of Indiana Jones being Helena and her adventures, the Wombat stories. I don't know what you'd call it, but
Helena Shaw and the Wombat.
Yeah, there's something.
It's funny you made that comparison, because it is like the third movie, and I'm someone that I didn't like that character. This is where I guess it's probably better because in the third, that character, it's either she's in love with Indy or she's with the Nazis, where this, it's like, and I thought, I'm not sure where you are, Taylor, the other comparison I got, that she was very Jack Sparrow-esque in a way too, where you never know, and that's what I always love about Jack Sparrow, where so many movies, a character's like, always on different sides, but you're always seeing it. It's always being told to you. With Jack Sparrow, it's always like, you will be disagreeing with this character. They're betraying our characters, and they don't really know their full plan, but it kind of works out. And that's where she was. Because, I don't like her not going with Indy or going against, and I think that's why I like the character, that at times because then it just becomes, she is just a sidekick. There's no reverence for herself. There's no story for herself. So I was the same thing, that I thought, oh, she's just going to be there, like how it opens up. And I love that, just classic, oh yeah, like, oh, I'm just here because I've heard about this story, but that was a lie. I love that everything she had her own urgency, because I think if she was just a sidekick, she'd just be another Indiana Jones character. Where now, when I think about this movie, I'm going to think highly of this character and stuff like that. And again, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I think, does a fantastic job. She's so good. I love that sequence when they meet the fiance and her back and forth. Like, she's just so good at switching from like quippy comedy to being serious to being like kind of like lovable and stuff. And yeah, I thought she did a fantastic job.
I did enjoy her character a lot, and I'm glad to see that, like you guys touched upon, she was not filling in that void of just the sidekick companion, kind of like that Mutt character we had prior. But she felt very much that Mutt. Yeah, she felt very much on her own pedestal and propping herself up on her own endeavors and adventures and her own backstory. That was for the most part interesting, just what was going on, especially when I can't remember his name. I'm not a true Indiana Jones fan, but like Indy's like OG friend who is like giving him the rundown on what Helena's like. Salah, thank you. Giving him the rundown on what Helena's backstory was. Like, oh, there's a mobster, all this kind of stuff. So, in jail too and everything. So, yeah, I think that there's some cool stuff to explore with her character a little bit further. And again, having a movie with her and the little character tagging along, I can't remember his name either. Was it Terry?
Little character.
It was Teddy, right?
Teddy,
I
the
think so.
T-boy.
I think it was Teddy.
The T-Man.
Throw him around there, or give us that next film with like Helena and Short Round both going on an adventure together. Or something
That's
like
definitely
that.
what I thought they were setting up, but I don't
Yeah.
think they'll go that route. But I wish they would. But he's not listed. Like, oh yeah, it's Teddy. There you go.
Teddy. I like
Don't
to
forget.
the one scene where again, third act, when Indiana Jones is like, no, I want to stay, and then she just smiles at him and does the Indiana Jones kind of thing where just fucking decks him out. I thought that was kind of like a good.
Would you be pissed if you were like a really old man? You had very wild adventures. You've gone through a lot. Your son's dead. You're divorced. You're bleeding out. You're literally living in history right now, and you're like, I'm ready to just go here, and then you just get robbed of that.
But
like, would you be
he
pissed?
gets a better. At least
Yeah,
to
that's
me, I
why.
think it's
But
a
in that
better-
moment, though, Taylor, I'm gonna ask.
I think he
about
was
the
pissed.
afterthought.
Yeah, because even when he wakes up, he's like, "Why
You want to stay in that moment? I'm just.
I think I would. I think if I was like 80 years old,
2
and
seconds
I'm-
ago, this Roman centurion was gonna be like, "Blah, blah, blah," just fucking slice you
Hey
up.
man, what a way to go!
I was very happy.
All the
they didn't-
while, he has a bullet through his body, so he's just not feeling great.
I was very happy they didn't go with that ending because I wasn't digging the whole. I'm just gonna stay here and die.
I thought they were gonna go a real wild route with that.
The
Where
aliens
I
come
was like really looking into it too. I'm like, oh, maybe the watch was like his kid, like that they found of like Archimedes. I think that was his name of like the tomb. Maybe that was Indy the whole time with his watch because it was like his grandfather or his father's watch. So they're gonna do something crazy with that. And then Helena just smacked me some sense, I guess.
Second Mads opened that case with the Nazi uniform. Like, okay, it's his watch. Here we go. He's the time.
You clued in
traveler
right
guy.
then and there.
Yeah.
Oh, I did.
There's two things I was very impressed with myself. Right when he opened the case, he got that. And did you guys see in like the first after the prologue, like the first 5 seconds, they reveal that Mutt's dead?
How
So-
do they
Oh, on
say
the
it?
documents, the separation form, and then like the deceased, where it had Mutt's name.
Oh,
or
did it have
whatever.
deceased Mutts?
I
for
thought
that
it
one?
said something like that.
Oh no! What happened is, so when he's sleeping on the couch, they're going by and they're like panning like his socks, everything like that. On his dresser, they have a picture of him in an army uniform, and it's like they have the flag. So when a soldier dies, they wrap up the flag and give it to you.
Oh.
So, and I was very curious. I was like, is that just for the fans, or is this going to be a point in the story? And I love that. And I think again with Helena's character, this is where she's very cocky and arrogant. They're talking about going back in time, and she's like, "Oh, what would you go back to? Go back to this. Go back to this." And then like the way he reveals, and Harrison Ford, like when he wants to turn on, he still's got some of the best acting chops. He's like, "Oh, I'd go back and talk my son out of going to the war." And I love that for the first 2 minutes, he doesn't reveal that he's dead and stuff like that. And then she says like, "Oh, what would be the main reason?" Because like, well, if I tell him he would die, and then your mom would never be the same, and our marriage would end. Like, I loved how matter of the fact it was, and I even love that little moment when she's walking away and she's like, "You're still wearing the ring," and he didn't have a quip or anything like that. So I thought it was, it's funny because like people hate mutts, so it's like, well, I'm sure some people like At first I thought it was very memey when I saw the flag. I'm like, oh, they've killed off this character that people hate. It's like, oh, we gave you what you want, but I like that they kind of used it as a great motivation for this character of like, it's, I think, like I don't have the greatest reference for what they did with him having his son in 4. I think they fumbled that, but I think here they gave some purpose here. And I think that's another reason why I like this feeling Evolved, because this is the Indiana Jones now that's lost a son. I don't expect him to be as like, he's still quipping and he's not like depressed, but even the beginning when they're playing the music and he's doing the get off my lawn, turn on the music, I feel like he should be more bitter now, because like he's lost the love of his life and his son. So it's like he's probably not in the best of place. It's good that he's just functioning and all, So.
I wonder if George Lucas wrote a script, and Disney bought Lucasfilm's like, here, Disney, I got a script for Indiana Jones 5. It's all focused on the character Mutt. And like, sure, George, we'll take this into consideration.
It's with top men.
Sure.
It's with top men.
I think they were around the time like Tom Moat doing something with Mutton. Obviously, it didn't happen, but
Yeah, no, I think must be a really difficult thing to do when you're doing a sequel like this many, many years after the originals, many years after even, the 4th one and stuff like that. And like, man, we gotta, answer a lot of these questions, but if that's not the movie you want to make, then how do you do it? And I think all that stuff between the son and Marion, like, I don't know how I feel with the Marion thing. We can talk about that. But I thought that element with the son was really well done, and I loved the dialogue of that sequence as well.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, Travis, you said when Harrison Ford wants to bring it, he definitely brings it. And I was like almost getting choked up just from his reaction. I don't even care for the character of Mutt, but just picturing, a son grieving or a father's grieving for his son is just some heavy topic. And then of course Helena just had to like just remind him, you're divorced, but you still got the ring. And I'm like, she just does not say the things that grind. Like, she just grinds my gears with her lines. Like, come on, this guy's like down and out. And he's giving you like some real heart to heart conversation. He's walking away. You still got the ring on, jackass.
We take that so many different ways. I did not take it like that. I just took it more as like he says the marriage is over, but she's reminding him he has the ring on, kind of saying like, yeah, but you still love her. That's how I took it.
See, yeah, that's not the way I took it at all. I just took it as a dig, and I'm
You're
like,
still
fuck
pathetic.
you.
No,
Yeah,
I think he was still like, but you still got the ring on.
my theater had a different audio. I think she said something different.
Yeah.
Some people had different
Pathetic loser.
screens with no practical and all this.
Yeah, no practical shots. Yeah.
I love that scene. I think it was really, really just humbled that, and just connecting into that scene where he's on the ship again talking like, I've seen things. They used that in the trailer, but those 2 scenes were just really, really hit home.
I'm telling you, if we get fucking Indiana Jones 6, I don't want to hear at all. Yeah, I don't really believe in magic and all. This motherfucker time traveled now. He's gone back.
Seen aliens.
Aliens were enough, but the fact that he's time traveled and was back.
It's how hard you
Can
believe
we break
it.
down that line? That was something that very, very much confused me. He said, roughly, I don't believe in magic, but it's not about whether you believe it or not. It's about how hard you believe it. That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't matter
to me.
what you believe in; it's how hard you believe in it. So it doesn't
Can you
matter
explain what
that.
that means to me? It makes no sense to me.
It doesn't matter if you believe in Santa Claus. It doesn't matter what you believe in. Like, if you have something that you do believe in, it's how hard you believe in that.
But that doesn't make
thing.
sense in this context, because it's
The man
I
is
feel like it's like a
senile.
line that's written to sound cool, but actually has
Yeah.
no substance to it.
He's
But maybe-
literally
I don't
seen a
know.
UFO. He's literally meet a fucking King Arthur guard who was like,
Oh my god, that guy. Yeah.
And like whatever you want to say, you could say that guy's, he just got there. Fucking Sean Connery was shot, dying. They put some water on his chest and the bullet hole goes away. Like, you've seen more than just like, that's the thing with Indiana Jones. It's not like, at least with the Covenant, the first one, when those people die and his eyes are closed, it's kind of like, well, I don't know what the fuck happened. I believe that's what happened, but I'll never know because I didn't see it. And I always wish they played that up more with the aliens. But there's situations now, especially with the aliens, he saw a ship come from the ground and just out of there. That's not like I'm choosing to believe. It's like, no, you saw it, motherfucker.
No, and that's true. And I think the thing is, like, he doesn't go out on his own looking for these things. These things that happen are because he's been drawn in. When you look at the Ark, he was drawn in and recruited for that. When you look at Temple of Doom, it was an accident he landed there. When you look at Last Crusade, his dad was abducted and he got pulled into there. And all of these situations, Mutt comes and pulls him into the adventure. He's pulled in, and it's because of other people's like dedicated hard belief in these things being real. He sees that, and he sees how these people are heavily believing in these objects, and that shows this truth and this reality. And
But
so
he's
for
still-
him,
he's still opening up the story by saying like I don't believe in magic. Like that's what still doesn't track for me. Even if he didn't believe the journey, at the end he sees what what can happen.
I think he doesn't believe in again, like he says, the power of magic, but I think he believes in the power of belief, and what these people believe turns out to actually be true because how hard they believe in some of this crazy stuff, and that's what blows his mind. So
yeah, I don't know. That doesn't track for me.
Yeah, I'm still puzzled, but
Yeah.
Maybe
I
I
appreciate
feel
you.
like the line it didn't have the effect that I think they were going for, at least for myself. But the way that I took it was just
Yeah. He's
like-
dementia. He's forgotten it all.
like he's seen
According
so many crazy things that he did not think could be true, that maybe anything is possible, and like maybe there is magic, and if you believe in it enough, then like that's the way it goes. But yeah, the line could have been done a little bit better, but I think there's across the board some different dialogue choices could have gone.
Let's take our next ad break. I'll talk about some more magic. So we'll be right back. And we're back, but they just don't really need it in that context too, because like they're just talking about stuff. Like he doesn't need to. I don't know. The line just it's not needed. It transitions in the conversation about his son. Like that's to me the bulk of that conversation right there. They're literally because she's like, what would you do if you went back in time? And it doesn't go like, well, it probably doesn't work. He's like, well, this is what I would do. He doesn't even shoot it down of like, well, that's probably not a thing. It's like he's like, well, if I could go back, I'd do this. And
I thought he was gonna say like I'd make it so my son was never born so he wouldn't die. I thought he was gonna say something really
Wow.
deep like that, but he
really
didn't.
deep. That's awful.
really profound thought.
You guys think Helma's an asshole? He's like, yeah, I just wish back I didn't have mud. Didn't have it. I wish I stayed with Willie.
Best years of my life.
Yeah.
The prequel, yeah.
Yeah. Where to now? What have we not covered here yet?
A couple quick shout outs for me. I love that they brought back the map thing when they're
Yes.
doing either a plane flight or
Twice,
taking
yeah.
a boat or something like that. I love to see those maps, but it's not quite the exact same map. They did it a little bit differently. I thought that was cool. We mentioned him, Salah. I loved his inclusion in this movie. I just thought he was so much fun. He was kind of like a ball of joy, and I had seen him with all his grandkids and stuff. There's really nothing more I can say. Like, there's not like an insane amount of depth or anything like that. But I really liked seeing him.
I liked hearing him just say Indiana Jones, like when he's just popping off.
Almost killed Indy there.
I definitely appreciated. I just appreciated him having in here. Like again, if this is the last Harrison Ford Indiana Jones movie, it's nice to have like that original buddy that he had from the first movie here. I think it's great, especially hearing about how he was potentially supposed to be in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but it's like he had such a minor role. And then looking at this one, it's like, well, it's not that big, but
You can tell when actors in their life need a payday and when they don't need a payday. He just freshly came off Lord of the Rings. He's like, no, that would kind of cheapen Salah. Here he is, a total like under 5 minutes, not really doing much. Like, I did appreciate their conversation they had, but it is like a nothing role. And it was weird when he's like, I have my passport, I could come. And Ford's like, well, no, the adventure's over. But he's about to go do it. Like he's about to go on an adventure and do everything. So I was like, I would have been down if he came with him. So definitely the Mando, yeah.
he wanted to go. He's like, kept me away from
Yeah,
my
I
family.
don't know why he
I
didn't.
need to get out of here.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna say, but like, oh, I gotta take care of my family. But he was ready. He was just like, if you want me to go, I'll go. Like he like. So I was like, why didn't he go? He should just go on. And
He kept
Tell me
asking
not to
like
go.
the directors, like, please give me some more screen time.
that's
Like,
what he kept
no.
saying.
I got my passport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about the whole like time travel sequence? In terms of the visuals of it, in terms of that being the kind of direction of this, I think kind of all knew it was coming. I guess some situation of time travel, but
Yeah,
how was the execution for you?
they weren't trying to like hide the idea of what the dial does. I mean, we were joking about how many times Mads' character was just like, "I'll see you in the past, Dr. Jones," and like just keeps.
I'll
dropping
see you when we
these-
time travel back to a different war.
Yeah.
He may as well just said that.
Yeah, like pretty much. And then like we get the sarcophagus, and then it's got like the eagles with the rotors and stuff like that. And I was in my mind, I'm like, this is a cool reveal like early on in the movie if you like don't know what's going on, and then if you're like witty enough to clue into like, oh, this is the way that the ancient people saw like the time travelers of like planes, just think of their giant birds or dragons or something like that. So I don't think you could put that anywhere else in the movie. It's just it's like a worst kept secret. So I knew time travel was coming was coming, I was very much expecting to just see more 1939 stuff. So when it didn't go right, I was like, I had goosebumps that moment. I'm like, holy fuck, he screwed up his calculation here. I'm like, is he gonna like? I was really hoping that he would go through like the portal thing because I just wanted to see what was on the other end. I didn't know if it was gonna be fucking Jurassic Park or something. Like I had no idea how far back they're gonna go. So I was really hoping that they would go through it and not just like, oh no, let's back out. Then they veer off, and then that's just how our villain dies or something. I'm glad they actually punctured because it was just good to see that. And I mean, we've seen some crazy things go on in the Indiana Jones universe. I don't even know if I would say this. Like, I don't even think this would be the craziest one out of all of them that we've seen. I think. I don't know. Maybe
spaceship.
That'd be
I mean, that's got to be like the craziest thing, right?
But like even like the Ark, like just having a box of ghosts that can just decimate like an army, like that's pretty out there too. I think more so
Pulling
than
a heart out
spaceship.
of someone's body and keeping them alive is pretty crazy too.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's so many crazy things that go on, but like still just actually seeing like Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones with Boyd Holbrook just mowing down a bunch of Romans, like that was just so wild. And credits to them for actually like CGIing all like the trebuchet things going off the Mirror's defense. Like I think I'm just such a fan of like that Greek mythology era. Like I was like, yeah, this is sweet. I'm loving this.
They had a Thor Love and Thunder shot when Harrison's like, "Oh, it's beautiful," and they went to the CGI like the Colosseums and the mountain.
Oh, see, I thought that looked great. I didn't find that bad at all.
Really good.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Travis, you were at a different screen than all of us.
Yeah.
Mine was
it's just
practical
one of
in
those,
my theater.
It's one of those things where this happened a couple times on the boat where it's just like you can tell it's them, and then there's a green screen right there. And I thought it was it wasn't as bad as Thor, but it was like, oh, it's so beautiful here. And you shot to it, it's just like, okay, it's just some computer render of a building. Cool. Yeah.
I don't know. Like there was so much cool detail in that scene. Just like everything that was foreshadowed earlier on when Harrison Ford was talking about like these cranes that drop down and pull ships up, and just the way they reflected light, and you see all these pieces of equipment being used and like the ships being flipped over. It was just absolute chaos. Just such a beautiful all-out battle. And yeah, again, we talked about earlier, but just Boyd just fucking letting loose on these guys and like the spears coming up, and then like I liked how both sides too on the ground were like, we gotta take out their dragon, get their dragon, and that was some cool shit.
Is Boyd Holbrook mowing down Roman Centurions like the new fucking Tom Hiddleston?
It's gonna be the Tom Hiddleston,
yeah.
I can't wait for that gif. Oh my god.
It's just so crazy because like he's like it's in two sections. He swings the side of the plane open and starts firing with his fucking pistol. Yeah, which is nuts. And then he gets the MG42, smashes the front cockpit window, and starts like shooting.
The pilots are trying to save their lives, and he just like breaks through the windshield.
Because it doesn't even feel like they're fully under attack. It feels like the things are hitting them just because they're flying by.
They're so low. It's like, go higher.
Yeah, like Teddy's high. It literally feels like he's the guy in Warzone that's playing just for kills. Like he is his whole life. He's looked back at this area and he's like, "Fuck, I hate all these people." So like the second he gets time trial, he's like, "This is it. My dream is realized." Like you guys said, he breaks down that door. Like I can fucking kill as many of these people as I want. Like he has been waiting. He's been like just frothing them out, ready to go.
I understand like for their reasonings, like with their whole plan to take out Hitler and stuff, that they had to all get into their Nazi uniforms and stuff. But just the fact that everyone dressed up World War II Nazi style, and just you have Nazis versus Roman centurions. I never thought I'd ever see this like in a sequence. So
no, it's not something talked about.
What is that Spike TV show where it's like the ninja versus pirate?
Deadliest Warrior.
It's like this
Spike TV, man.
James Mangold's watching this.
So fucking good that that fighting game. Oh my god, we gotta whip that out on.
Yeah, we've always talked about that in 24 Hours. We haven't gotten to it. Yeah, I just imagine the pitch. Steven Spielberg steps away, and they're taking all these meeting stuff, and James Mangold watches. Okay, have you guys ever seen Deadliest Warrior? I'm like, no. Well, check this out. And
we're gonna watch this.
Yeah, and then they're like, well, that's it. You're gonna make it. And then like, I got the perfect guy, Boyd Holbrook. He just wants to kill these people. This is something I'm gonna have to sit on for a while to stew with it, because we talked about before, and I will say that how they actually did it would not take any points off the movie. I thought it was done well. I loved the visual of the cloud and getting sucked and everything. I liked the pacing of the reveal where you thought it was fake, you thought he was wrong, and then it looked like he was right, and then actually no, Indy was the one that was right, and he went back to the wrong war. Like I loved everything about that. The Boyd Holbrook thing I just love now for like it. That would maybe take points off because like it doesn't really make much sense, but it's just kind of so funny. It's good. So I don't think it would take points off the movie. It's just that for me, it's like it's different strokes for different folks. Like the way like Dylan, when you said like, oh, we've had aliens. For me, for some reason, I don't like aliens, but I find aliens more believable than time travel. Because, like, for me, in my point of view, I do believe there's probably aliens, other life out there in space right now, right? Where time travel is not anything I think has been unlocked or can be unlocked at this current. Maybe there's someone else. I know, Kurt, but I'm just saying, if you were to tell me, you put fucking Jesus comes down, he says, Travis, tomorrow, one of the two things are going to happen. Either you're going to time travel or aliens are going to land down. I'm taking aliens every single time. There's something about time travel for me that I only like it if it's established from point one, unless it's like a comedy series or something like that. Like I don't like it when they did in Star Wars, and I think this one is just, it's too grand for me. I think the execution made it better, but it's just still a concept that I don't really enjoy being in this movie, but I think they did it well. So I need some time to really sit with it, how I feel about it.
Now, what about aliens versus the box of ghosts versus time travel? Where does the box of
ghosts
ghosts?
for sure? I'm definitely more into like, because I believe there could be like voodoo and ghosts and stuff. So voodoo and ghosts to me tie more into like the Holy Grail. That could be spiritual, or that could literally be like voodoo magic and shit like that. Mm-hmm. The Covenant to me, that's like a ghost thing, right? That's like hauntings and things like that. What was in Temple, same thing as voodoo. So that to me is more in the magic realm. And they tried, because S-Bub's asked me about this before the movie. I like that it was this type of sort of tech. It wasn't just some portal that opened up, but even then still, it's not like magic. It is still like, well, I don't know. And I don't necessarily know how the thing worked as far as time travel. It felt, I think
all it does is like, oh, actually no, because I was gonna say all it does is identify the time fissures, I think is what they called them, but I was wrong with that, because they actually like inputted numbers to get that one to pop up, right? Because
so that's what it is.
How they escaped.
So I guess that's what it is, right? You set it to a time, you hit the button, that opens a portal.
Well,
I don't
sorry
know.
to add on to Kirkland's thing.
what,
I think that they escaped through like the same portal they came in
They
from,
did,
rather
yeah.
than setting a new one.
Oh, okay.
Well, but at the same time, remember,
I don't think the
Doesn't
thing
say
could
to
set
put
a
the
portal
numbers?
to anywhere else, because the whole thing was built to bring people back to Archimedes, right?
Yeah, but like Kirkland said, remember, Indy gives her that paper and says it's these numbers just in reverse. So I thought they did have to open a new portal, but they just did reverse, so they went right back. He
Yeah,
does
you're
say
right.
that, right? I don't know. Maybe there's going to be a YouTube video that explains it. I'm headcaning that they just do the make the clock and then hit the button, and that's where it was, because I thought it was very not very confusing. I thought it was clunky, the explanation of how we
I guess,
travel.
yeah, that thing of Indy doing the numbers backwards, maybe that's a bit too easy of a solution, but I think that actually does make a bit more sense, rather than them recalibrating it to go to whatever, back to, I guess, 1969.
Present
like
day,
they're just
yeah.
undoing, they're just doing like the opposite of what they did to get there, which, the math on that probably doesn't make any sense, but it's believable enough for what we're, funnily enough, the most unbelievable thing to me in that whole sequence was that Teddy was able to land this plane on this fucking hill. It's like, I know you don't need like necessarily a runway to land a plane, but I was like, there's no way you're landing this
fair,
plane.
yeah.
And then like, where are you going to turn this thing around to get jetted off again?
Yeah.
It was like a helicopter, sure. That was the most unbelievable thing to me.
I just
but
jotted it down as it was the other guy that landed it. It was the real pilot that was in
Yeah.
there.
Very random, that fucking guy just waking up.
I don't even specifically mean Teddy. I just mean in general for
Oh,
that
okay.
plane
Yeah,
to
fair enough.
do any sort of landing on.
And like, was that guy a
what we just
Nazi?
seen.
No,
No,
he was
I don't
just,
think
it was
so.
his
No.
plane.
Yeah.
So he was
He
just
just
asleep
woke
there
up.
while
Imagine
the
waking
Nazis
up
took
and you're in
over?
the
Really
fucking
heavy sleeper,
invasion
though.
of Sicily. Sicily.
Yeah, the CIA killed that guy when they
What
landed.
the fuck is going on? You're in my
back in
plane.
back in present day, they executed that man, so he didn't speak. I guarantee.
Yeah, I think I'm at a point with like time travel stuff where I'm just like, I don't even think about it anymore, because then it never makes sense. So I'm just like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
this is what you're doing for the movie. It's good enough, He brought the watch back. It doesn't make any sense how he would build it in the first place. Whatever. I'm just gonna let it happen, and I liked everything else around it. I really loved the effect of them going into the portal. I thought the tension, suspense of that whole sequence was really good. Of them going in, are they going to change things? Are they in reverse course? And then even when they all pop through, and then the planes just completely shut off, and like that moment of waiting, the music completely cuts and then comes back in, and then like them just flying towards land, and you're not really sure where it is, when it is. I thought that all the suspense and tension of that was fantastic, and then yeah, it was just like over the top and crazy and fun going through this sequence. You know, the Boyd meme we've mentioned a few times now, but just all of it I really enjoyed. I'm similar to you, Kirkland, where I love these kind of grand battles and stuff, and to be dropped in there, even though Indy doesn't die there like he wanted necessarily. I just think it's very cool that for this character, after all these adventures he's been on, like this was the most fulfilling one for him, because he got go back to these times that he's been studying and meet someone that he's, you know, huge fan of from because all the people he loves are like thousands of years old and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought it was all really cool, and I really love that idea that Archimedes was building this time travel tool that specifically works so that someone can come back and interact with him. Like that's a really cool idea. I feel like I haven't seen that before, and I thought that was kind of a novel creation from like one of these great minds.
Well, I wasn't sure how it was going to work too, because when they were getting all dressed in the Nazi stuff, I thought for sure we were getting de-aged forward again, because I was like, oh, well, that's why they did the de-aging at the beginning of the movie, so we can tie it again. We're going to get another de-age
Yes.
sequence. I didn't think it was going to be like you would have two copies of Harrison Ford. Like, let's say they went back, it would have been two, right? And I guess there would have been two. Like, would Schultz or Schmidt would have to kill himself, or would he would work with himself? I don't know.
Oh my god! Don't even
But,
think
like,
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's where I thought for sure, especially when they got the uniforms, I'm like, oh, because Mads is going to get de-aged again, which his de-aging looked good. He's not as old as Ford, so that's why it's easier. But that's why I thought, oh, this is what's going to happen. It didn't. So I was caught off guard there.
Big surprise.
Surprise.
I've really grown to enjoy time travel in cinema now. Really,
You're
really
gonna
like
get
it.
more. We're
Like
not
you were
done.
opposed to it before. You're like, fuck
I
these
just
time travel
wasn't-
movies. I hate Back
like-
to the Future.
There wasn't like a lot of it. I feel like most films didn't really touch upon it. It was just Back to the Future. That was really it. And now I feel like okay,
Time
we're getting-
Breakers.
we're getting a lot
Don't forget
more.
about Time
so,
Breakers.
About time.
Minutemen,
Wilds.
Disney movie.
the
Time
the
Machine.
idea Time Machine. That's a good.
There's
point.
a lot of time
Prince
travel
of
Time
movies.
Machine.
Yeah, Hot Tub Time Machine. Yeah, there's a lot of
Hot Tub
time travel
Machine
movies
2.
there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Back to the Future 2 and 3. Don't forget about those ones.
Pokemon Arceus.
Yeah. Goosebumps.
So with this though, just you mentioned, Dylan, just having this like device that just kind of focuses on like one point in time. I think that's very cool, and the idea as well that it's just done through mathematical equations and science. It's written in there, and I like that, because when you look at history and you look at how advanced some of our like civilizations were in the past, and how they didn't have the tech we have, but they were able to pinpoint to the spec stars and celestial bodies and everything like that, and just their calculations were incredibly accurate than some people are in today's age. But it's just fantastic. So when they represent that into here, I think it's great having Archimedes as this main focal point and being this inventor and just this creator of this device. The whole concept of this device with Basil kind of going into it and finding like these fissures in time and these significant points, I like that. I like it a lot, because, and I was telling Travis this, it kind of reflects on something very interesting that this guy came into my work, and it was
God.
it's really interesting how this.
How many O's
What
in
year
use,
is
Taylor?
it? What year is it?
Yeah.
He got him thrown out, and he was there to like warn Taylor of his death.
Dressed
or
in
something
Roman,
like
Roman armor.
Yeah, he just kicked open your door and started shooting everybody.
He wanted to get like a book properly bound, and then he was trying to look at printing this device, and this device he created where it had like this circle and had all these numbers and everything like that, and he highlighted certain numbers based on these mathematical equations where this device spins around. And I just work there. I just print stuff. But he was there for about a half an hour in this meeting with me, and he was going through the whole thing. He was flipping through his book. He was showing me the equations, and he went
Is he
and
German?
backtracked.
He
He
was
wasn't
like-
German, no.
Okay.
He was like, "Have you ever wanted to fuck yourself? Well, this is gonna happen."
But he went through and pinpointed these highs and lows by going through and rotating this circular device, and it pinpointed throughout different decades very significantly
Did
like,
this guy kill JFK? Is this what you're trying to tell
Well,
me? Like, what is he up
he
to?
pinpointed like certain wars that happened in their history, and I thought, okay, this is very interesting because when you look at what they were doing, Dial of Destiny, the guy goes through the notes. It's like, yeah, oh, your dad Basil highlighted these dates here, separated by like a few decades, but like here's a war when this broke out here. Here's when this event happened here. And I thought this is neat because this is what the same guy did with his calculations. He showed me all this stuff with this device he created, where it's like this is here, and he's like, okay, so another event is going to happen here in like 4 years. Another one's going to happen here. And he was, yeah, I just thought it was very, very cool.
You should get this guy on Cryptic Clues, man. I would love to hear him break this down.
I thought about
You don't
it.
want to
have his
cross that
contact
line,
info?
actually. You don't want to cross
He-
that line though. with
He
business
was going.
I don't
to
know.
some
Taylor's talked to
archaic
some
stuff.
trippy folks on his show before, so I feel like this
It's
guy
true.
would.
But it's with his day
Good
job,
fit.
right? So it's gonna be.
I would just slip him a card. I know you have those cards. Slip him
Yeah, I
a
do.
card and say, "Call me." I'm sure he would be honored.
He reads. He's like, "What are you fucking nuts? I'm not gonna go on this show. I don't believe in any of this stuff.
I don't believe in
What?
cryptids.
Yeah, you fucking loser."
Sasquatch.
He throws
The
it
fuck
right
is that?
back. Yeah, I'm gonna be a patron. Come on, no, get out of there.
My stuff's science. It's math.
Yeah, it's math. That's what podcast is. It's math. No, it's funny you tell that story because I remember my dad, who's like a psychiatrist, always said that. Like, obviously, sometimes he has to deal with some mentally ill people, and he always said like when he has to deal with people that talk about aliens or things are out to get him, he's like, I always wonder if like I'm gonna be that guy in the movie that says like, oh, none of this is real, but like it's actually going on. You know, like he always would worry like
Your dad is a
this-
psychiatrist.
We've gone over this many times. Yes,
News to me.
Can I get him to guest on the show? Talk about these aliens and stuff.
I don't know. What does that have to do with being a psychiatrist?
That's a good question.
Well, you
You
said he
help-
talks. People tell him about aliens and stuff. You just
Oh,
said.
I guess. I think that's a legality thing. He is retired now, but
Which
that's reminded
okay, just side tangent, Taylor. This reminds me that my mom was telling me about someone that she knows, a friend of a friend who has like a Sasquatch story. So I tried to get his contact info, so I'll
Ooh.
forward that to you.
Please
So
do.
just putting
Look at
that
you.
out there because I kind of forgot about that until we had this
I'll
conversation.
sneak you a
about it.
card.
Yeah. See, you'll slip one to me, but not this guy who has this crazy
He
theory.
doesn't believe.
a good
Crazy
rebuttal. I hope when you slide him a card and he's like, "Oh, sorry, I can't do that. That's going to happen in another 5 years," and then that's the last
Yeah.
time you see him. and that's
Whoa.
See you in the
5 years.
past, Mr.
I'll see you.
Field.
Tomorrow so belongs to us, Mr. Field.
Get ready to fuck yourself.
Kirk will like that one.
Oh, it got me.
That's another one too. Time Traveler's Wife. You know, because that's what they did
Oh,
a
yeah.
show version of it, but in the books he does go back to like he has oral relations with himself. So
Oral
show-
relation.
yeah.
In the book, he has relations with himself.
Yeah, and they did it in the show,
It's
not
half
in the
the
movie
book,
with Rachel
Taylor.
McAdams. Rachel McAdams probably read that.
okay.
It's like, I'm not being in a movie where a guy blows himself. Like, okay, we'll take that out. But yeah, lots of time travel stuff. Everyone go watch About Time. Best one.
Time.
Anything else on the time travel sequence?
I'll just say that I love the look of the Dial of Destiny and like all of the little tools and trinkets and stuff that they had in this. And you know, another thing I really enjoyed, like when they did that boat sequence and they were reading off those not hieroglyphs, but like that code. And then he's like, oh, this is a bit too heavy, and like burns it. And there was like some cool like metal thing in there that had like the clue to the next place they were
yeah.
going. I really like the look of all those, and particularly the dial. Like I'd love to have a little, you know, like whatever version of that just sitting on my desk or
Yeah.
something. It looked really cool.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
cool. I liked how big it was too. Like it's
Mhm.
like
It's
borderline
chunky, man.
uncomfortable to to carry. You can't just slide in your little
Hard to be
purse or
discreet with
something.
that.
Yeah, no, exactly. The particular one when they have the oh my gosh, what's it called? The thing that they find in the water. It's like the map to find the next piece.
Oh yeah, I can't
Whatever the
remember.
name was.
God.
But yeah, when he goes to like burn it or whatever, I just chuckled to myself. I was just like, man, imagine if he was just like wrong and he just like ruined like the entire riddle. And they're just like
I'm
looking at
surprised
it.
they didn't
It's
like mark down what the things were.
Yeah, I
before.
know.
Yeah.
I guess she's got like a
That-
photographic
That's
memory.
what she,
Yeah.
so she says. Yeah. Imagine if it was just like some highly explodable like Matt's is watching in his thing and like the boat. Yeah, I'm like,
That
fuck,
son
how
of
can
a
you get that
bitch lit it.
box? It's in the water. Yeah, that was another problem I had. Like, you guys were joking about like the binoculars and watching them. One, I didn't like how quickly either the bad guys got back to shore very quick, or our main characters were wasting so many fucking time, which I think was the thing. Because Helena comes out and say, "Look at my outfit." It's just like, we gotta fucking go. Like, don't be buying new outfits. Like, what are we doing
To
here?
be
Like,
fair, she does explain why they have to wait though, right? Like they have to wait for the workers to get out of the cave, as well
Yeah,
as like the way that the
fair
light
enough,
comes
okay.
in to make like the crescent moon. I think
So it
that's the
helps a
way
little better, but what I hated was the most anticlimactic way to get them back is the kid buys some ice cream by robbing, and he just happens to walk beach shore, and he sees Matt Mickelson like playing in the sand, and like, oh shit! And the big guy like is right there. I did not like that. Again, I didn't like them kidnapping a kid, but just even the setup of it was just like the first turn. He gets ice cream, he turns beach. Who's that? It's the bad guys. You know, it just felt like very just too easy for me. Like, okay, this is what we're doing. That's fine, but.
The I enjoyed the humor that was attached to the eels, because that was the only reference of the snakes, and just the kid is like, oh, they're like snakes. He's like, no, they're not. Oh, they're not like snakes. Which very terrifying sequence though, when the swarm of eels are all around him and shit.
Do you take water snakes or real like land snakes? What would be worse for you, Taylor?
Water snakes or land snakes?
Yeah, like eels.
You mean like eels?
That's what yeah,
or-
I'm
Okay.
I'm playing along with Indy.
What about trouser snakes?
like a penis?
What is
Yeah.
a trousers? Oh.
That's what your past self's gonna say to you and finds you.
You
I
like
think
snakes?
I'd be put me in a fucking vat of water with a bunch of eels. That's more scary to me than a.
They can
A
electrocute
snake,
yeah.
you too, right? You go a fucking electro. Jamie
In Mario
Foxx.
64, at least.
No.
I'm taking the eels. I hate. I'm like that. I'm like Indiana Jones. I fucking hate snakes. I cannot stand snakes. They
But
creep
think
me
about
out.
like your limited mobility in the water and your
That's fine.
limited vision.
That's fine. I feel like them killing me is going to be quicker than the snakes and stuff like that. I will agree that I really like the way the snakes joke came up. I thought that was like we talked about with Indiana Jones 4, where like the whole "tell me it's not a snake." Like this was the better version of that. My least favorite scene in this movie was the eel scene. It actually that whole water sequence, it was just so dark, and I get it's like some of it was underwater, some of it was like, because I do think they're maybe using some sort of water tanks. If they're all like, I think it's a combo of there's some shots that are water and some that's CG, and it's mostly CG. And if it's mostly CG, then just fucking lighten it up. You're in daytime, you're in a CG room. It just they made it dark, and it's just like it's. And I will agree with people where you look at the new movies compared to the old movies. That's why it's like, you know, I'm not trying to spoil my rankings, but that's why I can never put any of the new ones above the other ones, because they're just like they're such great filmmaking, the production. I don't understand how someone could. And that's where for me that water scene, it's so dark and there's eels moving around, but it wasn't as bad as the gophers. It was just I didn't enjoy any. I didn't feel any tensions. I just like they didn't look good to me, and it just was like you're just like, hey, it's dark, and then you also have these eels that are dark, and everything's dark and gray and blue, like a dark blue, and I wish cut it out, just find the thing, get the guys on top. I didn't like any of the eel stuff.
I've just continuing off the eels thing. When we got the bad guys that showed up above on Antonio's boat, did you find like the way they executed this to be a little weird? Because the one guy that was there, they cut his airline and he drowned, and then they just like I get they needed to keep Indy, I guess the girl as well, but they left Antonio's airline there and just killed him later. I just felt like the way they did this was weird. They could have killed everyone and just left Indy.
And the
Not
guy
like
that
they would even know whose airline was whose, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it was weird.
kill Indiana Jones, and then
Yeah.
they kill a random guy. It's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, and then when
Wrong
Indy
guy.
pops up, they don't just like execute him on the boat. They let him talk for a bit, and I like the scene of her having the dynamite. I thought that was fun, where she's being like very flirty with the guys, but very educational. But yeah, I agree with you, Taylor. How we got there was very clunky. You just make them show up and they pull everybody up. That's what you got. You don't got to do this. One guy's falling, and then they fucking just light up Antonio later on. Which I know I saw Maddie say it was a waste. I just consider it's like same thing of like, hey, you want to be in an Indiana Jones movie? Sure. Like I did not think when we met Antonio that he was going to be with us to the climactic battle of this. So I just like, okay, cool, Antonio, cool, I can buy this.
I thought we were gonna get the ship captain from Raiders of the Lost Ark. He's like, she'll fetch
really?
a fine price at the next port. Like,
Oh, that guy.
yeah, that guy. Yeah.
I didn't think my mind wasn't going there.
No, not top of my list for characters returning. Why did the guy whose line got cut? Why didn't he just do like the life jacket thing on how everybody else got up to
Yeah.
the surface?
Don't know.
He sunk pretty quick for sure.
Okay.
Was the idea that like they put like something heavy in their shoe that like really like sunk them
Yeah.
down, and they would take those off?
I imagine so, like the iron boots.
So
But
yeah,
he
like
looked like
the
he just
style.
gave up. He's just like the second his lines cut, he was just, and like he did like even pulled just to try, like do something, you know. But
Yeah.
because like I think my problem was like so he's there at this little hill and then he goes down, but the hill's not like the down like they're not
Oh,
that
man,
far away.
yeah.
So it's just
I-
like you'd eventually land and take off. So it
When
was
they're-
weird.
Yeah, when they're talking about it, they make it seem like this is very deep in the ocean. But it's like, no, it was like about 30 seconds
Yeah.
of swimming to get there.
That's
like, I
what's
don't
so
think I
weird
could
to
get
me.
the case, but I could swim down there at least. I could take a look at it, you know.
That's what's so weird to me about this is like this artifact was found so long ago and nobody checked like the rest of the ship for anything like that. That was just so
They didn't
bizarre
have the
to me.
equipment to get
And
down there, right?
Yeah, that's what
To-
it was.
To the but like, okay, yeah, I guess you
That's
got
where the
me.
scuba
But
comes
I,
in, right?
I think the big issue there was just the way that they're talking about it makes it seem so much deeper than it actually is. And then when I'm there, it's just like, okay, yeah, like nobody
even,
went and
like-
investigated that. But
Like even like goggles, right? Like it would be clear, but you couldn't for sure see the guys holding it.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm with you in both ways that like it should have been deeper, but then at the same time I'm with Taylor where it's like, well, yeah, it's like Howard Stark, right? Like the tools of my time, don't let me do
Yeah.
this, and that's where it is. They didn't have scuba.
I think I was thinking too much about our present day technology and forgetting that this is like 1969. You know, if they waited in
Yeah.
the 70s, maybe the 80s, they would have found that so easily.
I think it's peculiar how, like, Indiana Jones was obviously mourning his friend, the boatman that died, everything like that. But the thing that I find peculiar is he knew and he told Helen that, okay, we need to get there before the Nazis do and all that jazz. He didn't warn the people in the boat that, hey, we might have bad guys coming here. We need to protect ourselves. They just went out and he let them die.
Everyone died. Yeah.
I just assume that if you work with Indy, you just kind of know that's par for the course.
You'd think so, but Antonio's like, I think he even says like, why would they kill them? Why did they killed everyone? Like, why are they doing this, Indy?
Did
like,
he say that?
He does not
I
say
think
a
he
single
would.
word.
No.
I think he was confused as to like why
It's
would
his
they do
eyes
this?
that does that. He does like this.
That acting.
Indy, you said you just wanted to go diving. What's happening here? They kneecap him. I don't think so because when he got kneecapped, he was really like, "Fuck you!" Like he got kneecapped and he stood right up with his cane ready to go. So I maybe there's that line. I'll have to wait on a rewatch, but I didn't hear him go, "Indy, what's going on?"
Why are they doing this?
Yeah, I was very disappointed with Indy. I think with his overall decisions of not even explaining to his friends like, "Hey man, help me out," but like I got bad guys on my trail. If you want to help me out, that's great. But like I want to let you know of the threat that could be happening to you and your friends, and you could all have families with like 2-year-olds possibly at home. I don't know.
2-year-olds?
I guess,
possibly they
Come
could.
on now. Come on.
I guess
do you
the
mean?
thing is,
Wait,
like,
come on now.
if
Antonio's
you
pretty
lose,
old.
The thing is, if you lose
Robert
this
De Niro's
battle,
pretty old.
If you lose this battle, the Nazis get a time travel device, and that's pretty fucked up. And you do whatever you can
True.
to make sure that doesn't happen.
Fair enough, but also when I'm getting interrogated and I know that my one expendable buddy is next to me and he lost his boat now. He lost all of his friends already. And I'm going to say no to the Nazi with the gun. I think
That's
I
fair.
mean, and what happened was they got the information anyways, even though
Yeah.
Banderas died. So
And
I was a
Ford
little bit
escaped
disappointed
anyways,
with Indy's decision making in that moment, but great point.
No, I agree with you fully. Like in that situation, we all knew it was going to go down this scene. It's like, I'm not telling you anything. It's like, well, we have 3 characters that you could kill. Something's going to happen. So like, yeah, it did feel like a little rook move by Indy to be like, yeah, I'm not going to say it. It's like, well, what's going to happen? Like we've done this rodeo a few times, and
in
Antonio could
indie
escape with
movies,
them.
that happens all the time. It's like, tell me this. It's like, no. And then
Yeah.
you get smacked or someone gets smacked.
And even if they wanted to kill Antonio, not for the venture, they still could have done the whole scene with the dynamite. And as they're trying to get on the boat, they shoot Antonio so he doesn't get to go with them. You know, like they could have easily still killed him off in the chase.
He's
You didn't
like
have to
waving
do
at them like the knight. He's just going down with the
with
ship.
his cane. With his cane. Yesterday is ours. Hope the thing I just thought about then, if currently they do have families, I hope like no, they're never gonna know what happened to those people. Like no one's gonna tell them and stuff like
They
that.
just went
you know?
missing one night. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
that
hoping they
boat
didn't have families.
got back to shore, right?
I don't think it
Yeah.
did. The big boat?
Oh yeah, it
Well-
was the bad. No, it was the bad guy's little boat that they took out.
The little dinghies.
Yeah.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah. So no, it's just out there. Poor Antonio, like all their families have no idea.
Just 2 shipwrecks in one place. It's a pretty unlucky spot for boats, I guess.
Yeah. Raw deal.
That's I did kind of chuckle to myself after the explosion goes off and before Mads grabs actually it's in that sequence when he grabs the binos and I was just thinking it's funny because like you have like the bad guys just loading up like the dinghy with like their materials and it's just like what do you think the conversation was after that? It's like, well, we just lost all of that. That sucks. Might as well just start loading up the dinghy and just like morale's so low and just for my own sake, I would have appreciated a little behind the scenes shot of what the dialogue was like in the camp of the Nazis there. Just how they're hanging on.
Well, I'm
Deep
amazed
cut.
that they know exactly. Like, obviously, he's like, oh, they're not going east, they're going west. And the thing I find interesting is, like, when you see the map pop up and Mads, like, overlays it, like, the line trajectory, they're going from Athens, they go to where Italy is, but they go down and go around Italy all
Around the
way
world in 80
around.
days. That's what
Yeah,
they
so,
did.
like, how the hell did the Nazis know that when they went west, they didn't stop at Italy? They just went and detoured around and continued further. I think
Earth is flat, Taylor. That's how he just saw him straight shot. He's like, he just landed in Sicily. Yeah, I found that hilarious and just like how much gas we got. Punch it, and he just cranks it, and then it goes to the map, and they went a lot further than I was expecting them to go. I don't know if it's like to scale or anything, but it seemed like they went the entire like African continent length of like distance, maybe even a little bit more so than that.
Let's take our last ad break. We'll probably be doing our final thoughts and stuff like that. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So,
Stuff like that.
one moment I really wanted to bring out too was like Mads' character, like when they're in the cave and they're all crossing the bridge, and he like fucking like booked it across the bridge. Like he was scared to go across the bridge. I really like the little detail. He was like, look, and they like moved really quick, and even Boyd like grabbed him when he got across. But everybody else was just like walking. Well, you'll see on the replay. Everyone else was walking. It's when the big guy like breaks through it and stuff like that. But before that, you can see Mads' character like running very quickly past people because he doesn't want to be. And he even looks back at the bridge and stuff like that. So that's why I love little details like that, where he wasn't that like, oh, he's an explorer. Like, no, he is just like, lots of people always say, I'm a scientist, but like he really is. Like, sure, he was a Nazi one, but even at the beginning, like, he's not punching people. Like, he's not that type of explorer. He's literally the scientist guy, and he's kind of a wimp, and I appreciate that. And I was kind of confused that I thought when you smoked in movies, you got a rated R, so I don't know if that's changed now. I didn't know what they're trying to symbolize with him smoking in the movie, but yeah, I was surprised. I thought it used to be get you an R rating, but maybe that's changed now, so...
Yeah, since we're talking about Mads here, I did like his overall just motivation. I think like what was like why he wanted to go back in time. I'm not saying it's an honorable goal or anything, but it was more than what I was expecting. I think I didn't assume that he was going to just go back and make the Nazis win the war or something like that, but it just I knew he was up to something, but the fact that he was gonna like replace like Hitler and just speak like, because even early on, right, like when he's talking with that war vet that was serving him,
great scene,
and he's just like, yeah, no, like just so you know, like you didn't win the war, Hitler lost it, and then if you tie that in like later on when you reveal his motivation, it's like, okay, this has been his goal, like he's actually just hated Hitler for his just selfishness and like where Germany was in like just strategic wise for the war, but he brought in his own things that made him lose.
That's a shitty. I just feel so uncomfortable. Like you're working, like you got a good job, I guess,
yeah.
working as like a worker, and you're serving the food to this guy. And the guy's like, yeah, how do you
Where you
feel living
from?
here? Yeah, where you from? Like,
New York.
really
Where are you actually from? I was like, oh my god, but like it fit right because like that was the whole Nazi base,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Of like they wanted a pure bloodline and you had to be from certain places and stuff like that. But I did love the retort where the guy's like, I was just like, I was born 20 miles from a New York stadium or something like that. So I like that he didn't fold under pressure. But yeah, this poor guy just trying to do his job, get through the day, earn
didn't
some
win.
money. Yeah, earn some money. You know, he just goes home and like, man, this fucking guy at work, he's asked me where I was. Then he talked about going back in time to fuck himself, and I was so confused. Like, oh,
He
bringing
handled
up
it very cool though. I will
did,
say,
yeah.
he,
Yeah.
you know, he took it on the chin.
Well, he's probably not we're in that era where it's probably not the first time people have had to go through those things, right? Like it's still bad nowadays, but that was the height of lots of people would still like, people make that joke of, there's freedom, but not absolutely free. And that's where that was in that era where it's like lots of sly digs about you not really being welcomed and you can't say much because you're like usually in a job or something like that. Because if you were to speak back or get really violent or just stand up for yourself, you'd likely get fired or shit canned because you'd be looked at as like,
labeled as the villain.
Yeah, we can't deal with them in quotations because they're problematic. So that was the height of that. And like I said, I think it did inform Matt's character again of he's not with Hitler, but he's still full in the ideal of what the Nazis were trying to do. He still has that goal. It's not like time has changed him.
Because like in the flashback, yeah, he's working for the Nazis, but it almost seems like he's kind of adjacent. Like he has his own just scientific ways on like things he wants to figure out. But like he was pretty. I mean, yeah, that's where he was first showing that he was kind of pissed off with just Hitler as well as just like the Colonel. Taylor's favorite character from the movie. He was annoyed with that character. And then it isn't until you get into the present day that that Nazi side of him is really evident of like, okay, he's still a piece of shit. Yeah. So, I liked him.
I wanted to shout out the general the tomb hunting sequence at the end of the movie because that's one of my just favorite things about all of these movies is when we just are going through a tomb and you got to solve puzzles and little things like this. So just everything from them like trying to find just using the echoes to find the right spot.
Loudest point in the room. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The little water displacement puzzle, I thought that was really fun. And then, the ground dropping out from under them is a very classic thing. Even just going through that little corridor with all the bugs, going over, that sketchy drawbridge, kind of a Temple of Doomy sort of thing there. Even having that one clue of the light peeking through that one point in the rock is pretty much what happens in Back to Raiders, right? So I like that they're, it's almost like paying a little bit homage. It's like almost like a little best of, but it still felt like just like an authentic new like tomb sequence. And then even I heard you laugh at this particular line, Travis, but when he's like climbing up the wall and he's like, oh, these old bones can't take this anymore. And she like has some dig at him, in a very Kirkland way, always digging at him. And he's like, oh, you haven't drank Collie's blood and you haven't been stabbed by voodoo and all this stuff. Yeah. So just a nice little way to reference the old movies and the kind of crazy shit he's been through. So yeah, I think those are honestly when we do scenes, spoiler for my ranking, I just love going through a tomb and little puzzles and different fun set pieces and stuff. And that whole section was very fun for me.
I don't think she wrote this movie, but I'm excited because she's the one writing that Amazon Tomb Raider show. So I hope that she can bring some of that stuff over there. I don't know if she's starring, and I feel like Amazon wants her to star. What?
Who's she?
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Okay, yeah. You didn't say a name. I didn't know she was a writer.
Yeah, she got more famous from like her writing stuff. She acted in Fleabag as well, but she's she wrote No Time to Die and stuff like that. Like she's had a lot of high projects and stuff like that. She was working on a Mr. and Mrs. Smith reboot with Donald Glover. Then that doesn't look like it's happening anymore, but that was a really cool idea. But yeah, she's writing that, so I hope she kind of this movie kind of brings some experiences to like bring that to the tombs and stuff like that. And I think Amazon wants her to be it, but I don't think she wants to be Laura Croft. I just feel like I don't know. I feel like Laura Croft, like, I don't know. She's great, but I don't know if I feel like this is a mean thing to say about the character. I feel like Phoebe's like better than that character, in a way. Like it depends how you write it, I guess, right? I guess you can flesh that character out more, but Laura Croft's a pretty, basic.
Bring Angelina back. Let's get her back in there.
She's busy doing MCU stuff, Taylor.
Yeah, Eternals 2, baby. It's coming soon.
That cave sequence. Yeah, I agree with you, Dylan. I love that. I love the callback to the old movies as well as just referencing his tired bones. Like when I saw him just like scaling the mountain, I'm like, holy fuck, okay, like this guy's got it.
Stuck there
and then he just stays there. And yeah, she's just like, you gonna move along. Like that was a fun moment. But I feel like I've never really seen. Maybe I'm completely wrong here, but just seeing Indy with like a backpack and like rope and stuff. I'm used to him with the satchel and he's got his whip and stuff, maybe a pistol. But the fact that he just had like a backpack, I was just like, I'm liking this explorer look that we got for Indy. I'm used to the archaeologist with the satchel, but here he's really backpacking in the Sicilian mountains, if that's the way you'd say
Well,
it.
that dial is fucking huge. You know, you can't just
Yeah.
put it anywhere.
That's a
so
good
you,
point. Yeah,
You almost need like a fucking wagon, wheelbarrow to drag that thing around.
that's a good
Yeah,
point.
you talked at the beginning, I thought it was mostly just like the water and maybe a little bit else. When you kind of put the whole sequence together, it is actually, I like the callbacks and stuff. So I think I'm more warming up on it. I thought the actual getting in there, I like the water and it goes down, but once it went down, I thought, oh, it was kind of it. But now when I, like you kind of put out, I'm like, okay, there's maybe more that I'll enjoy in a second watch when I kind of think of it all together. I think probably why I maybe was enjoying it less and thinking about less is the whole time I was just trying to think about what are they doing with this kid? Because it kept splicing it back with the scene. I think the
Yeah.
whole time I
Yeah,
was
that's
like,
fair.
my mind was focused on that. So now that's laid out, I'm like, yeah, that's actually a fun little, because I did like the Echo thing. I like the song, like choice and stuff like that. So
There was a really weird decision to like have big Goliath guy with Teddy like just holding his hand, and then Teddy escapes, runs for a couple feet, and then he gets just captured again. And then what do they do?
Yep.
They handcuff him, and it's just like, why did we need that scene? Like what even happened there? Like he almost got out and then they handcuffed. Like why wasn't he just handcuffed from the get go?
Yeah.
And again, it kind of splits off it splices the sequence of having Helena and Indy like on their adventure. So it just seemed kind of just, I don't know, like not clean in the editing of that.
Also, like, he just learned how to swim in that moment, right? We got that setup that he doesn't know how to swim, and he just remembered that tip. He learned how to fly a plane on the spot. This kid's fucking next level.
He's a
He's the next
genius.
Archimedes, truly.
well, they did at least they did explain the flying thing, because remember he was having that whole conversation with the pilot at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's true.
yeah, but it still is like
I know,
it's still
it's-
impressive for your first time to like in those conditions to go through a fucking
Land
portal.
in
You know,
Sicily,
like
BC.
that's not an ordinary like flight test that you do.
For a split second, I actually thought he was on the bad guy's side, the kid, because when he said he couldn't swim, and the bad guys were coming out, I thought it was very suspicious timing that he's not going to go under, and the bad, because at this point, there's just like, he was just already asking, like, oh, is he in control? Well, I guess that was later on, but he was kind of hinting that he didn't like that Indy was running things, like, oh, he's not going to let us sell
Just
any of
lights a
this.
cigar, starts exposing his evil
Yeah.
plan. Yeah.
He's the
That would be
real
quite the
guy.
twist.
Yeah, he's like Mads is like his worker, like he's the boss of them all. But yeah, it went away. But yeah, you're right. He did learn to swim very quickly. But yeah, you didn't need the handcuff thing. It reminded me of like Dylan. You won't get this reference, but when we had the Obi-Wan show, we got that Vader and Obi-Wan fight. And they kept splicing it with Reva after young Luke Skywalker, and it was like, oh,
Yeah.
don't do this. Like you're kind of. So I do wish there was a cut where cut some of that stuff out of the kid and just have just the rating going on. But
I guess the only thing we haven't talked about that I can think of is Marion. So I'm glad that she came back and we got to see her and get a little like kind of full circle moment. I guess I don't know how I feel about it yet. I'm curious what you guys think, but for me it just felt like the writers didn't know what to do and they probably felt a lot of pressure, so they're like, let's just not do anything and let's just let them act, or maybe they can, improv it or something like that. And so I guess I don't feel fully fulfilled, but maybe you guys can sway me. I'm curious how you feel about it.
I really, really, really liked like the callback to the first movie with the kissing moment. I like so much so that I actually was like tearing up in that scene. Like I think it was just such a call, like just such a great like full circle moment from that first movie. His first love on screen from that first movie. So that was just really great to see. Like I was just totally.
Second love, right?
yeah, second
Pulling
was
into
Bill,
it.
Billy was
Temples
the
of-
first.
Temples of
Remember?
Oh yeah, right. The prequel.
No,
you
he
guys
didn't
got me
love
there.
Billy. That was just a fun weekend.
Yeah.
It was a fling.
So I was just totally getting choked up in that moment, but that could have hit so much harder than what it did. Like I was probably the only person in my row just tearing up in that scene. Like I feel like they could have elevated that to like just hit everyone that's ever been like feeling the love for the character of Indiana Jones in the series. Like I think they could have just fucking killed that sequence. Like to the end game level when like everyone is just feeling like emotion. Like there's just not a lot of dialogue at all between the two. Like everybody just leaves to go get ice cream to have this like really powerful moment between two characters just really acting with some great dialogue, talking about their son that's gone now, or maybe just accepting like where they are now, and just really like having a really great speech about just coming together and like just the strength of love and all these great things. But we didn't get any of that. They just gave us the kiss scene, which I mean, it worked for me, but I still felt like I wanted more. Yeah,
You like
that's
I
my
don't
take
say
on it.
you don't got to rip it off, but you needed what they did in Force Awakens with him and Leia, when him and Leia just had like a 5 to 6 minute talking scene about where they've been
Yep.
since Ben Solo's turn, and then you get everything. They end with that hug, and it's like you get that feels. I liked the kiss. For me, it was very odd because. So the way they proposed it, or at least Indy, so I don't know if he's an unreliable narrator, is, okay, Mutt dies, and he says that changes his wife, and he tries to console her, and he doesn't know how to console her, so that starts the marriage breaking up. But then when they see each other, she says, is Indy back? And it's almost like inferring that he was the one that, and I'd be fine with that if he was so depressed that he could, like, he wasn't around Marion, like, whatever, I would be completely fine. How they pitched it was, she was so depressed, he couldn't help, they split up. But then her dialogue made it sound like it was a verse where he was so depressed, she couldn't help, they split up. So I don't know what to take from is Indy back. So that's where I liked the scene, but I was just more confused about, okay, who was the reason? Because this made it sound like he left her. But his story was she left him, or it was like a mutual breaking up. So I was just confused, and that's why it didn't really hit. And it's just weird of like, is it asking like, is Indy the Explorer back? And it's like, well, no, like if that's the meaning, it's like he's old, like he's gonna be retired and stuff like that, you know. And then they just do the exact same ending as 4, where there's a hat and Indy grabs it again, which I actually would have liked it better if the hat was just stayed hanging. I thought that was gonna be the way
weird
of like
choice.
yeah, like, oh, he like it's the symbolization for he's hung it up. That's what like it is. But
Yeah.
he grabbed it, where it's like, oh, we could, like, not that it would happen, but you could do 6. Like the way they're like, this is for sure the last one. I think it is, but it didn't end that way where he didn't die, and it wasn't like I'm not gonna do exploring anymore. I just want to be here with you, Marianne. It was like a literal like, I'm still out there doing stuff, and you know, maybe that's people like that ending of like, you always imagine that Indy's out there doing stuff till he dies. But so yeah, I agree where like it hit, but it didn't. I think it just got me to first base when it could have been a home run, and I think it was all in the writings team's kind of fault there. So nice to see her again, though. You know.
I was not expecting her to appear. It caught me a complete surprise. So, a good surprise. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think that it was a good cameo appearance that kind of had like cute moment. You mentioned it, Kirkland, just the kissing callback to Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I just think it's neat to kind of have her being a reoccurring thing, especially because we got her for a big adventure in Kingdom of Crystal Skull. So seeing her here at the very end was just kind of like a cool full circle kind of thing. So I think she was great. I think it was fantastic, and yeah,
It all worked for you. Everything. There?
all worked for me. Yeah,
there you go.
I again, like we talked about earlier, but it just how it touches upon Mutt being dead and just them being separated. I was curious because I didn't think she was in here, so I thought, okay, how'd they write her off? Did they just divorce again? Did they kill her off because of old age? Like what is the narrative? So I think this one, as far as narratives go, is like, to me, this is pretty damn good, you know.
And
Now I'm
it's-
picturing like how weird it would have been if Mutt wasn't actually dead, and imagine he just pops through that apartment door too. Hey, pops, and then it's like this whole thing that would have
They
been
found me.
fucking weird, man.
Chat
Found me.
GPT post credit scene.
yeah, dimly
Mutt
lit
was
room.
alive all along.
A candle.
Dimly lit room.
Yeah.
Did you guys catch like when Marion is like talking with him at the end? Remember early on, he like puts a magnet like over his photo. Like when she's there, he like slyly just takes the magnet
Oh, I
off of
missed
her
that one
photo.
too, though.
No kidding.
Great
Well,
little
and-
detail.
And that's what I was going to ask. So that is a great detail. I like that. But again, what is weird with the story is she sent him the papers, and he like put the magnet over her face like he was mad. So again, like his story does not track really at all. I guess I
You
just have
just
to.
can't look at her. He's so hurt. I don't know.
I guess. I guess I just have to watch it now as like he just couldn't console her, so he chose to leave. Like he wasn't like, I don't know. I like I said, I
He's
took
weak.
that scene a different way, but I'm gonna have to watch it. I'm gonna have to watch it a second time with that mindset of, okay, he's the one that leaves maybe, and see if that does anything for me. But anything else? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say. I mean, it fits. You know, he's hitting the sauce. He's like putting whiskey
Yeah.
in his morning coffee. He's definitely gone down the alcoholic road.
That was
That
another
one got
Richard
Dylan's
Must.
dad.
Yeah. He's like, oh
like
yeah. He literally said, oh yeah.
Jones, classic Jones.
Yeah. So now, Dylan, you know what your dad's doing every morning when he's getting that cup of coffee. You know.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And I think it was the last we heard of him. I was disappointed because then after that it was
Then
like
he dozed off. Yeah.
yeah. I'll go see with him again. I'd love to see it again. But yeah. Anything else? Shout out character wise.
I got a couple
nothing,
notes.
so now's the time. Yeah. Do
Got a
it.
couple notes to go off. Classic machine gunning down the Romans. Had to bring that up again. When Boyd Holbrook and crew are taking Indy through the parade, there's like a cop right there when they have like a gun on his back, and I'm like, that's fine. Like it is a lot of chaos. Maybe they don't see the gun on Indy's back, but when Boyd just like shoots a gun right there, probably 10 feet away from that officer that's probably staring right in his direction, and just like there's no police reaction at all. And we see like I think 2 different cops, or maybe 3 different cops in that scene. Boyd smacks one, and then Indy hijacks the other one, and I'm like, these are the most useless cops ever. Like, do they not have guns or like nobody reacted at all? And like the horse cop, when Indy's like trying to explain to him what's going on, it's like, I get it. There's a lot of chaos. Maybe you didn't hear the gunshot, but like everybody just dropped down to the ground. Like, holy crap. They must have been putting whiskey in their coffee or something, because none of those cops were ready for duty that day. I was like just scratching my head in those sequences. I'm like,
Pretty useless cops out there. That's actually
very
pretty
useful.
believable for me.
Yeah. See, for
CIA are like on the ground. Like there's just no like
Yeah.
American authority, it seemed, in this town.
It felt very much like GTA 5-star when you hide behind a trash can and the cops just give up. I was with you because it was weird when he goes to that cop and he's explaining him. Whoever that extra was, I'm sorry, was awful because they're almost making it look like he was. Like I thought that cop was in on it because I thought they were gonna do like there's a problem, and he turns around, but he wasn't. He was just some weird cop guy like acting very strangely. And no, I'm with you. That to me is much like the ending stuff with the kid, where I wasn't buying any of this, and it was so weird too because I thought, oh, something clever is gonna happen here, where he's like, what was the chant again? I can't remember what they were chanting. It's like a classic legendary thing. But anyways, there's like the riots going on, right? Or the picketing, right? And it's like,
Oh yeah.
it's like, say no to war,
Yeah.
right? And I thought, oh, what he's going to do is he's going to get these hippie people realizing, hey, like these people, like Boyd Holbrook and his crew are taking one of our guys. Let's stop him.
Yeah.
But nothing ever happened with that. He was just chanting. And then what he did, he took a sign and just fucking started beating people up. So it's like, why did he chant? Why? Like, I thought he was trying to do something very clever, and it wasn't at all, because Boyd's like, shut up. But it's like, nothing came of it. No, like the guys weren't like, look, he has a gun. Like that's what I thought was going to happen. But so it was a very, very odd scene, which I agree. Yeah, it took me out of it for a bit, and could have been a little oddly just paced and clunky. So there's a couple. I feel like lots of those like getting from point A to point B with some of our characters, they had issues with that, which is surprising because there's like 5 fucking writers on this movie that they couldn't just narrow down like how do we figure out this one scene. But it's all right.
That's all right. The other thing that kind of bugged me was in the flashback opening.
Oh, the show? Yeah, you want to talk about the
scene.
show again?
Not the show. Kind of forgot that existed actually until we brought it up earlier.
He didn't lose his eye like people were hoping. But.
He didn't lose his eye, and he also didn't lose his hat at all on the train. Which is I guess okay. We had the tank sequence, and we learned that it was a staple. That's how it was stayed on there, but. Just the fact that he was like on a train with his head like hanging off, and it bothered me. It bothered me a little bit too much. I think that's the only part of like that opening sequence I kind of had issues with. Of just like he didn't like take the hat off, put it in his bag for that moment. Like he just didn't reference it at all, and I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have even been bothered by it if I didn't know about that hat fact or something. So now I'm just like looking for all the hat physics, but it was turned off in that scene.
That's fair. There was a moment too where the guy like threw Indy up, and because he was in the air, which I appreciated, he like landed further. Because how many movies do we see where a guy pushes a guy off and he's just like they stay like at the same wavelength? So I appreciate that like the momentum it showed, like gravity showed that he went further. But yeah, his hat was on there the break of dawn. He could have just got at the end of the scene, but it's all right.
Yeah,
it looks cool, right? And probably honestly, the hat helps with the de-aging because you get to hide him a bit more, right? So
that's a good point. I like too how after they dismantle Taylor's favorite character, they're just like looking at like the paratroopers and everything, and just like the chaos. It was a really beautiful shot. all CGI most likely, but I still thought it looked really cool. But in my mind, I'm just like waiting for that next tunnel to be coming. I'm like, fuck, man, like they gotta be looking down the line. Like they just passed multiple tunnels as well as that metal thing that just decapitated Mads. Not really, but he got hit pretty hard. My last note is another small detail thing that I just really, really loved was when we have angry Indy telling the kids to get off his lawn essentially, and he grabs his bat going down to Larry's house, and he's like banging on the door, and there's like other indents in the same spot that you can just tell he's been down to Larry's place like so many times with his bat, like just batting the same spot. It was just another small detail thing, but just made me just made me chuckle a little bit of just where Indy is now from all of his grand adventures. He's just getting pissed off by his loud young neighbors. 8 o'clock in the morning on a weekday.
No weekdays.
It's Moon Day. Dr. Jones.
Moon Day. And that whole beginning, I just felt like he was Woody in Toy Story, because that moment when he's trying to teach and they bring in the TV with the astronaut, he's just like, ugh, like he's just so disgusted with them. He felt like he hated Buzz Lightyear. So I gotta.
Sorry, did he say Moon Day?
Moon Day?
Moon
Yeah.
Day.
I thought you said it was moving day, and like I guess it was like,
No.
oh, we're just having one final party, then we're leaving later today. But
No, it was the one small step for man, one
there you
giant
go.
step for
It all makes
humanity.
sense
Yep. Anything else?
now. Mm-mm.
Go once, go twice. Sold. Taylor, you've been quiet. You're muted. So maybe I'm not gonna throw.
Oh,
you,
I'm
actually.
muted.
It's getting late. It's getting late.
John Williams, love having him back.
Yes.
Doing
Oh,
another.
I thought you were just gonna
soundtrack.
say you were listening to it. That's why you were muted.
Yeah, just whole time here. No, it's always good to have him come back, and I love when he has those original scores, and you can just kind of like give it a new a new spin. And what's up?
Oh, just say you're like, I love when he has those original scores. Opposed to like, what else does he do? Is he known for like remixing a lot of?
No. I mean like
I love his
taking like that
covers.
original score, like his covers.
Give me
He
the
He does a
Spider-Man
lot of
theme.
covers of his own stuff.
Like an indie theme, and then he's adding more to it, like what he did with like the sequel trilogy for Star Wars. You get that original theme in there a little bit, but he adds something new for new characters, and so you get that in here, which is nice with some of that classical stuff. So
Well, and I think
He's
This
almost
is
so
his last
good
go.
that there's like, what do you even say? You know?
Yeah, he's like,
there's
the
just
goat,
nothing
but-
bad. It hurts knowing that like, because there's other composers that are really good, but like no one can be John Williams, and
there's
it's
only
a
one
shame
John.
when he leaves. It's just that's it. No more John Williams music. It's so sad.
Yeah, there's some of those people that's just like that. It's like him, like Michael Jordan. There's people that no matter what's gonna happen, you'll never eclipse this person, you know. And that's the thing with John Williams. He's never gonna be eclipsed because you just start to go down his Rolodex. And yeah, it's good. There's a couple times in the prologue it actually sounded a little Star Warsy for me. That sometimes gets crossed. So that's where I was not that. I
Well,
was
there is
enjoying it,
aliens
but
in this universe now, so
That's true. So it fits. There's some connection there. But yeah, no. Hopefully, you know, like I said, everyone enjoy it because I think he said this is his last go because it was supposed to be Rise of Skywalker, but I feel like they kind of coaxed him out of retirement for Indy, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then Steven left. He's like, "What the hell? Like, I thought you were doing this with me." But yeah, I think this is probably it for him. So yeah, all sounded great. You know.
yep.
Dilmos, final thoughts.
No, I feel like we've really run the gamut on this. I'm happy with our discussions here, and excited for our ranking. This is going to be in one of two spots, and so I'm glad we have some time because I really
Yeah.
do got to think on it and determine which of those two spots. If you want to find out which one, tune in for the ranking.
Exactly. Next week, Taylor Field.
Yeah, I have to think long and hard about where I'm gonna actually place this because it's a tough call.
Could be first, could be last.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It could
Not
be
second.
somewhere in between. But currently for tonight, I'm gonna rank this movie. Like talking with you guys, it has amped it up higher than I thought I was gonna actually put it because I was a little in between when I left that theater. So I'd probably go more on the positive side, 8 out of 10.
Oh, it's
this
higher than I
time
thought.
around.
I thought
Because
you were
I
gonna be
was
7.
thinking when I left the theater, I was thinking like 7 out of 10. But talking with you guys, it definitely amped up some things.
devastating
too for
score
me.
from
So yeah, yeah, 8 out of 10. I think there's a lot of things that just really enjoyed talking with you guys and just learning a little bit more about this and hearing your guys' takes and perspectives. And yeah, I think it's a really enjoyable film for the most part. And while it didn't hit every note that I was really hoping for in terms of like an Indiana Jones adventure, it's still evolved like you guys put it, and I actually like how you guys describe that evolution for Indiana Jones as a character and just the story. I think that's probably in the end like a healthy thing, and it's something like you said, Kirkland. I think we just kind of like maybe rewatch it and just kind of get used to it and how they executed it. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be rewatching this again in the near future, and I'm excited to get that 5-pack, the Indiana Jones, box set.
Yeah, so I think I'll need another rewatch. Definitely, it's not 10, but I think I'm at like the 9.5. So I'll go with the safe and do like a 9.25, like somewhere in there, because I feel like it can go back. Because yeah, I enjoy this a lot more. I'm not trying to spoil my ranking. It's just one of these things where the original three are very hard for me to top. As I said, I have a hard time seeing, like, when I see rankings and those like aren't the top three. I'm like, man, that was just Spielberg on such a different level. However you feel about even Temple of Doom, so like the filmmaking and craftsmanship of those films is something. But this to me is just miles better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and that's like, I don't know if I like. I'm interested in the future. I feel like I could find myself watching the trilogy and then just watching this one. It sucks because you do have Marion in the fourth one, so I like at least seeing her again and having that. So I probably will always watch the fourth one, but I personally am much more happy that this is the send-off. This is one I really like we all talk about Evolved. It's something that is different, but feels the right amount of different. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I'm kind of surprised, and not even because the ratings or reviews. It's just that I knew I would like it because, like I said before, I like James Mangold film, but I didn't think I'd be talking about it as far as like loving it in my top 5 for this year. I haven't actually ranked it, I gotta see, but yeah, it was a great time. I'm happy to see Ford one last go as Indy in a movie that I really enjoyed, opposed to Creighton and Crystal Skull, which just felt like not to be mean, but I agree with people that sometimes like Crystal Skull feels like, oh, this is AI make me a like an Indiana Jones movie, and that's what that feels like at times. And this one feels like it has a lot more heart in it. Yeah, sure, there's a little more effects heavy and stuff like that, but they look better than the Gophers and Fire Ants and all that stuff. So this feels like a great send off, and I have this great character that like I like Marion and I like other people, but I feel like other than Indy, there's no character I like really love. Helena now is a character that I really love, so I will just even return this film because of her. So yeah. I was very happy with it. So a 9.25 could go up, could go down, but I don't think a 10, but I don't think lower than a 9. So there you go. Mr. Patzer.
I love it. Yeah, I like Taylor. My rating also changed as we've been discussing, but mine went in the negative direction actually. Yeah, so it doesn't happen often. I think I'm gonna slide this one right into the 7.5 range right now. I said it was good enough at the start, and it definitely was. I got emotional watching this. I had a lot of great just Harrison Ford donning the cape and almost said the cape and cowl, the hat and the whip.
I was gonna say the cape,
yeah,
the whip, yeah.
Different moves that he's got. But I had a good time with this. I'm definitely could sway in either direction. I think on a future watch, because I just have some issues with some of the villains and maybe some side characters, but really like the grandioseness that this brought, and it was a good time. I'm glad I wasn't just like, holy fuck, why did they not bury this back in the 80s? I'm glad I'm not feeling this coming from Crystal Skull, and if this one would have been like a sharp decline, it would have just been very, very sad. So I'm very glad we didn't go that route. Can't wait for the rankings.
Yeah, that'll be next week, and then maybe I'm sure when we're 50 or 60, maybe they'll try and do a reboot. But it sounds like they're not doing anything with Indiana Jones right now. Just Star Wars at Lucasfilm, which that was even weird. Being in the theater and seeing a Lucasfilm logo, it's like, man, I haven't seen this in 4 years. It'd be nice to see that again. But next week will probably be the last time we talk about Indiana Jones, like a review sort of spectrum. So check out for that. That'll be dropping, I think, the Wednesday. We're gonna record it with Secret Invasion, so we probably get the 2 episodes of Secret Invasion and that back to back. But it'll be very fun. This was a good time. Like Dylan said, I think there was some good conversation. It was probably good that we all had different thoughts and whatnot. So let us know whether it's the Facebook, the Twitter, the YouTube comments, or join the Discord. If the link does not work, just please message us and we can get you in there, because much like this review, our Discord is very mixed and stuff like that. So it's fun seeing everyone else's rankings and stuff like that. So tune in next week to find out ours, and I promise you it'll not be boring.
Bye-bye.
Bye.